Welcome to Volvo Ocean Race headquarters here in Alicante, Spain. I'm Jenny Tulloch, joined by Zane Gills, and we have quite a historic finish shaping up. Leg 8 has been 647 miles from Lisbon to Lorient, but it's been a first for many in this race. It's been the first time the fleet has seen 35 knots and 4-meter seas. It's been the first time that a leg has been less than a week. And importantly, if the standings stay as is, it'll be the first time that Team Vestas Wind is able to podium after just rejoining the race. It'll be the first time that Team SCA will not only podium, but win. And if it all stays as is, it might be the first time that Abu Dhabi Ocean Racing can start to think about lifting that overall race-winning trophy. So Zane, quite a monumental moment here, but let's talk about Team SCA. What does this mean for them, especially winning a leg after having faltered so far offshore?
I think the girls are going to be ecstatic with this leg. Being towards the end of the race, to have such a comprehensive victory like this, I think the girls are sort of silencing a few critics for sure. It's definitely what they needed. And yeah, I'd love to see the atmosphere on the boat.
Yeah, well, we actually have them on the line. We have Annalena, the OBR onboard reporter of Team SCA. Annalena, actually here we have Sam Davies, skipper of Team SCA. Sam, first of all, huge congratulations for the lead you guys currently have. I'm not going to try to jinx you as you have about 13 miles to the finish line, but how does it feel so far on board?
It feels good. I think everyone's still concentrating really hard because, as you say, we haven't crossed the finish line yet, and there's lots of traps out here, especially fishing boats and fishing nets and pots, so we're keeping an eye on that and sailing the boat as fast as we can.
I'm here with Zane Gills as well. Sam, we're wondering what part of local knowledge, I mean, you've just said fishing nets, but what part of local knowledge do you feel like as you're coming in there? You now call France your home and you live very close to Lorient. Does it feel a bit like coming home, and do you feel comfortable in those waters?
Yeah, ever since Cape Finisterre. Yeah, I feel really comfortable here, and it's really nice to finally be coming back into France, and it's the first time for us on Team SCA to bring our boat into France, so very happy about that. And yeah, it was great. We one of my neighbours sailed past in an open 60 earlier today. It's a new one, Safran, and I haven't spoken to him for a while, so it was nice to have a chat. They came over to say hello, and I think they checked out the rest of the fleet. But yeah, it's nice to see my friends, and it's nice to see the islands. And well, I can only see the lights because it's dark, but yeah, it's definitely home.
What about this leg so far? I mean, you've been leading now for a couple days. It must feel amazing, but what was the turning point where you started to feel comfortable with that lead?
I think it was probably once we were into the Bay of Biscay, and we knew that there were a couple of options, sort of taking the coast and maybe taking a better sea state, or doing what we did and sailing straight out into it. And so I think it was once everyone was on port tack, once we'd all tacked over, and then we saw that, you know, we'd held our lead, and if anything made a small gain on Vestas. So yeah, it was a bit tricky up the Spanish coast, and yeah, we didn't really know what would happen until we were halfway through the Bay of Biscay, I think.
And what about the Bay of Biscay? It was a pretty brutal battering for the whole fleet. How did your boat hold up? How did you guys hold up? And we've heard some seasickness. How are those girls now?
They're alive again. Yeah, I think there are a couple of girls on board who probably wanted to leave the boat as soon as possible, but they still kept sailing and kept coming on watch, and you know, and kept working hard. So although they were suffering, it didn't change how we sailed the boat, and everyone's come good now. So yeah, they're all alive again. So it's good. But yeah, it was tough, and the waves were huge. It was really full on, and pretty dangerous because the boat is pretty violent in those conditions. So We also had a few bumps and bruises for a few people. So yeah, there's a couple of war wounds to see.
And final question, how far are you guys from the finish line here, and what are you expecting between now and actually crossing the line?
Hang on a sec, I can ask Libby.
Ah, perfect.
Libby, how far are we from the finish? Yeah. Oh, there you go, 40 minutes.
40 minutes, okay.
Libby just came on deck with a position report and telling everyone where everyone is, so.
And what do you have to do navigationally between here and there?
40 minutes away. So we just, we have to go around Ile de Groix, and so right now we're reaching, and then we'll be coming up onto the wind, and we'll have probably one or maybe a couple of tacks to do before we get through the finish line. And yeah, we've got some nice steady breeze, and Ile de Groix is only a small island, so it shouldn't slow us down too much.
Excellent. Well, thank you so much, Sam, for taking the time here. Huge congratulations to your team on your current lead, and we'll check back in with you closer to the finish. She sounds pretty happy at this point, huh? She's almost got it in the bag. 40 minutes is, things could happen, but maybe not.
I think her smile pretty much gave that away. There's very happy girls there on board. Yeah, a few tacks up into the bay, but yeah, sounds like they've got it in the bag, hopefully.
Hopefully, but behind Team SCA, there's actually quite a tight fight still for second place. Team Vestas Wind, especially having some problems with their keel, means Abu Dhabi Ocean Racing has closed up over the morning. Then behind them, Måfre, Dongfeng race team, Brunell, and Albi Medica, very closely fighting for essentially the third and fourth place spots. Here's Vestas doing 13 knots, Abu Dhabi doing 12. So right now, maybe it's just Vestas's job to keep them behind them on the reach and then cover on the upwind.
Yeah, with Vestas having some problems with their keel, they definitely don't want to get stuck in a tacking duel. They probably want to just do one tack, try and get into the finish. I think it'd be Abu Dhabi's job to try and get past them and start forcing Vestas to tack, trying to get Vestas to start playing that game.
Yeah, exactly. Well, let's take a look at what happened with their keel. We've got Chris Nicholson just about an hour ago explaining the keel problems.
Well, yeah. Well, today was pretty epic. Like, boat was going, pretty much perfect. We had the tack in front of the Zam, like 6 miles in front, and then we ended up had a massive leak in the aft compartment with the ballast tank, and then one of the drains from one of the jib tacks came off, and we flooded the front. So we basically started to flood 2 compartments. Slowly, but at the same time, and then the keel.
That should work.
Okay.
Also, do you reckon you can get some tape to me, just some electrical tape?
Yep.
Thanks.
And then the keel fell 40 degrees to leeward, which is the problem we're still trying to fix now. So it's good. Tom's really handy electronically. I've only got a brief overview of it, so we're kind of working hand in hand with that. So we've got about 10 minutes until we round this mark. So we're trying to put in place, we've got kind of like this crash panel here that takes place of everything on deck. So we operate the keel from down here. And, meanwhile we've got 4 boats 2 miles back on our tail. So hope fingers crossed we have a functioning keel. At the moment we know we can do it on the slow DC pump. I just don't know if we can do it on the engine. But and other than that, it's all well. Yeah.
How much of a problem is this, essentially, the manual problem with the keel?
From what Nico was saying, it doesn't sound like it's that big of a problem, but it's just probably a bit tedious. You're just hoping that all your backup systems are going to work properly. I mean, it is definitely manageable, but if he does have another problem,
then it could be a double problem. It's not ideal. Well, we have Vestas on the line now. Brian Carlin, onboard reporter, on board. Brian, it's Jenny Tulloch and Zane Gills in race control. We've just heard about your keel problems. How big of an issue is that for you guys? Sorry, Brian, it's Jenny here in race control. Can you hear us? I think unfortunately we've just lost that call. We had Vestas, we could see them. It was dark, as it still will be for about, I think just one more hour. Maybe I'm wrong, maybe it's 3 more hours until sunrise. But hopefully we'll get back to them and hear a bit more about the keel problems. As it is, we have CEO of the Volvo Ocean Race, Knut Frosted, out on the water. Knut, where are you and can you see the fleet?
No, I'm actually on the way out. It's pitch black dark, and we cannot see anyone yet. We probably have about 6, 7, 8 miles to SCA, I would say. So it's a beautiful night, but it's very dark actually. I think it's a bit overcast, and a few fishing boats are out here. There's definitely wind, no doubt about that. So no, exciting. This is one of the most crazy finishes ever.
Crazy in what way?
Well, I mean, first of all, it's like a dream scenario for me, right? With or for the race and for the SCA and for everyone that the girls are, not only looking to win it, but looking to completely win it by a massive margin. And I mean, they've been leading almost the whole way, just from the coast of Spain and to now, and done a really, really good leg, which is great because they needed it, and we love them to win their leg, and I think they deserve it. And then, of course, it's great to have Vestas laying there in second place. It's quite unbelievable that, you with 3 days of training on a brand new boat and getting straight into the race and doing so well. It's really impressive. And then you look behind Vestas. I mean, they're almost breathing down their neck, and it's. I mean, we're talking about 2-3 miles now between all the whole fleet except SCA, really.
Yeah.
It was clear ahead, and we know that this could be a race-deciding moment for Ian Walker and Abu Dhabi Ocean Racing. Brunell, basically Brunell finishes the place behind Abu Dhabi Ocean Racing. Abu Dhabi still has to complete the next leg. If they don't complete the next leg, they will be on equal points if Brunel wins the next leg. And then it's the import race series that's deciding. It's a bit ironic, the import race series. I still remember the press conference in Alicante where Bowie Becking said that the import race series is not so important. And there is a scenario here right in front of us. The only thing that has to happen now is that he passes Måfre, and suddenly the import race series could decide the Volvo Ocean Race.
That would be actually incredible. What do you think about the possibility of that pass, Knut? You're just leaving the bay now. Is it shifty there? It will be an upwind for the finish. They will have to do a couple of tacks once they round Ile de Gros before they get to the finish line. Do you think there's options for the leaderboard and the standings to change?
Well, I think so. I think SCA has it. They have a very good margin now, and obviously going around that island, there could be some shadows and there could be some light air stuff. So I think we can see the fleet getting closer to them potentially, but they have a very, very healthy margin here. I mean, let's not forget it. 10 miles, which they have now, is a really, really good lead in this Volvo Ocean Race. But I think behind them, I think that island, rounding Ile, that island, and the beat from that island to the finish line, that could really rock positions up and down. I mean, I'm just by the island now, and I can tell you, I mean, there's no doubt that there is a big effect from the island. There's shifts. And there's a shadow, obviously, from the island. It's not very high, the island, so it's not like it's no wind at all on the other side, but for sure there is an impact. And if it doesn't get any more daylight than this, well, it will hopefully for the guys in the back there. But there's a lot of fishing buoys. There's a lot of different bits and pieces, some rocks and some other things to look after. And this is not over. So I have no idea who's going to finish really from second to seventh.
All right, but let's talk about the first place team. You've said this will be monumental for SCA, but what does it mean for the race and essentially for the future of women's sailing offshore?
I think that there has been some unfair comments made to the Team SCA in the sort of last month or two. You know, what people questioning, you know, is are they behind? How far are they behind? And it's, I think from the outside, it's, if you're not really an offshore sailor, you know how this race works and what it takes to finish the way they finish. It's difficult to understand and comprehend that the last two legs, SCA was really, really competitive. You know, really, really competitive, and they're getting closer and closer. And it's just those tiny, small margins where the guys have a bit more experience and have been in those situations a few more times. But there's no doubt that SCA has always had a bit of an Achilles heel downwind reaching compared to the other boats, and they've been very strong on the upwind side. They've been strong in the maneuvers, and now we have an upwind leg, and here they go. You know, they do really, really well, and they're super competitive. I mean, they've been fast. They've been going the right direction. Good maneuvers, and I think they're clearly proving that women can be extremely competitive.
Yeah, and as you've said, they have a lead that looks unassailable, even though behind them it's quite tight. It sounds like now we do have Team Vestas back on the line. Brian, Carlin, are you there? Can you hear us? It's kind of a three-way party here in race control with myself, Jenny, Zane, and Knut on the line down there in Lorient. So hello from all of us.
Yeah, Jenny, it's Nico here. Brian passed over the headset.
Perfect, even better, Nico. How are your keel problems going? Are they still the same issues that you sent about an hour ago?
We've actually got it working with the the emergency crash panel now is up and working. We actually had to remove a few wires out of the back to get it up and going. So all is good at the moment. Just have to have one person downstairs operating that panel.
And what's your strategy to try to keep the second place here? It's a reach now that becomes an upwind. You've got essentially the fleet chasing you down. What are you guys doing to try to stay where you are?
We're hoping we're quite well prepared for the manoeuvre at the bottom. The last one we've got to go around 50 metres tall, so we're just working out the approach for that, so there's no white section. And then after that, we'll basically take the high road and try and make sure, you know, if there's going to be a passing lane for the boats behind us, it'll be above us and over the top. So we'll be sailing the boat fairly high and just protective the whole way.
Can you see Abu Dhabi behind you on the AIS, or can you see their lights at all? Is it that close?
We can see the lights of the four boats.
Of the
so it is that close, yes.
Wow, so it is quite close. So for you, would you be happier if the sun started to rise a little bit and you actually had a bit more eye on the race course and the boats behind, or are you okay with this nighttime super dark finish outside?
Yeah, probably rather a bit of daylight, to be honest. But you know, it is what it is. So everyone's got all the same stuff to deal with. So you know, we're a bit more comfortable now. We've wet a lot of miles today, and we've stopped that bleeding. So that's a good thing. Because at one stage it was looking like, you know, we were starting to get a little bit of a snowball effect, and we could have ended up in some trouble in Abu Dhabi. So very happy we've still got a 2-mile lead, and we're going to try and defend that as much as we can.
Knut, do you have any questions for Nico?
Well, what do you think about the last bit, Nico, around the island and up to the finish line? Is that going to be the most tricky moment?
Yeah, it would, and I wish we were a bit closer to the girls so we could watch them on the AIS and see where they go. But unfortunately, they've gotten too far ahead. But you know, like, what a race the girls have sailed. I think full congratulations to them so far.
Yeah, that's great. We're happy with all of you where you are.
Nico, you said earlier that if you had heard at the beginning of this leg that you would be in second after a day, you maybe wouldn't have believed it. How do you feel now at the end of the leg, still protecting that second place?
Yeah. When I look at you know, honestly, a few of the issues that we had going on today with Abu Dhabi right on our heels. Second, if we still can manage to hold on a second, it's obviously not in the bag yet. That would be a massive result for us.
Okay, well, good luck. We'll check back in with you closer to the finish, and thanks so much for taking the time to Nico. So that is second place. And then after them, Abu Dhabi Ocean Racing, as Knut has just said, if they stay in third and Brunel doesn't catch up, it could be sort of race over. What do you think of that for those guys on board?
Yeah, I don't think they'd be thinking that too much at the moment. I think their main aim is just get to the finish line and see what happens from there. But I mean, I'm sure it'd be starting to creep into the back of their heads. What ifs.
All the what ifs. Let's take a look at this vision we got earlier of Justin Slattery on board when he was asked about this exact topic.
Oh, it'll be huge. Been sailing with Ian for 9 years. It's been 9 years trying to do this, so win would be icing on the cake, eh? Be everything I've been trying to do for the last 9 years, so yeah, it's everything.
Has he talked to you about it before?
No, not really. Tend not to talk about it. Yeah. We'll see how it's race is on right here. If we can stay ahead of these guys, this is it. But like everything, it's not going to come easy. They're pushing really hard, rolling down on us, but we're holding them now. They have a slightly better angle, so it's going to be a long 60 miles here.
Last part of the question, you won with Abe and Amra. What does it feel like winning?
That felt more secure. This one is getting there. I felt more secure as we sailed around the world, but this one will be even sweeter, I think, if we do it.
Well, this is it. This is the Volvo race right here, right now. We are basically laying SN1 about 50 miles to the mark. We've got Måfre, nip and tuck with them, Alpha Medica a mile and a half behind. Importantly, Dongfeng about 5 miles dead astern of us. Brunell have done pretty well. I think they're going to be just behind us, but it's nip and tuck. Vestas in front, and the girls are going to win. I mean, all the legs have been this close, even the long ones, so I guess it was fairly predictable, but it's closed up a lot more than I'd have liked. You know, we were 4 miles ahead of Måfre about 6 hours ago. We were about 10 miles ahead of Brunel, so we're just hanging on. If we can beat Brunel and Dongfeng, then the race is over.
So that was just a little bit ago. They said they were about 50 miles from the SM1 mark. I think now we have Ian Walker live on board Abu Dhabi Ocean Racing. Ian, you're joined by 3 of us here. It's Jenny, Zane Gills, and Knut Frosted on the water in Lorient. And we have been running points and scores all day long. I'm sure you've done the math as well. Tell us your thoughts on that side. Well, we can see Ian, but I'm not quite sure he can hear us. Ian, can you hear me now?
Yeah, I heard you up until the point you said you've been running scores all day long.
And then, of course, it cut out. I said, I'm sure you've been doing the math as well in your head. Can you tell us what you've come up with?
Yeah, I mean, I think the maths is fairly easy. We started 6 points ahead of Dongfeng and Brunel, so we just need to gain 1 point on either of them, because if we would have finished last in the last leg, then, and they would finish first, they could gain 6. So our task has been to try and beat Dongfeng and Brunel, as simple as that. And we spent pretty much 2 days covering Brunel, only to let Dongfeng back into it. And then we started covering Dongfeng and let Brunel back into it. But by hook or by crook, we've got a narrow margin at the moment, but we've still got a lot of race left here.
Okay, so a lot of the race left. How close is it then with you guys and the boats around?
Well, it's about 2.5 miles back to Brunel,
Okay.
1.1 miles back to Måfre, and we're 1.7 miles behind Vestas. We're all in a line, and we're approaching Ile de Groix, which is quite a high, tall island. And we have to round that island, and obviously at night time, you get quite a big wind shadow, so anything could happen really in the next hour. We've got crucial decisions as to how far off this island to stand. Get too close and we could stop and they could sail around us. Too far away and they could go inside us and cut the corner. So it's it's going to be a pretty tense hour and a half.
It's been a pretty tense 3.5 days though, hasn't it? I mean, we saw a photo of you yesterday that was unbelievable, that your eyes were still in their sockets.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, the leg's gone very well for us in the sense that, you know, SCA and Vestas got ahead, which was absolutely perfect for us. If they could lock up places first and second, that's, you know, fewer points Brunel and Dongfeng could gain. So we were delighted to see that, and obviously Dongfeng were at the back. So, the leg's been, I wouldn't say comfortable, but it's shaped up a lot better than, say, the last leg where Dongfeng were in the lead and we were 5th at one point. But it hasn't been very easy. The first day and a half was total madness, just random wind and gusts and stuff all over the place. I mean, SCA are winning. We haven't even seen them. We haven't seen them since we left Lisbon, because they were a long way behind there and we kind of split and we never saw them again. Doesn't feel like we've even been in the same race, really. And we've literally just been duking it out with Brunel.
But you've seen, yeah, exactly, the rest of the fleet for pretty much the whole leg. At what point did you go from mixing in the pack to feeling essentially where you are now, which is 3rd and covering them behind? How do you think you were able to get into that position?
Well, we had a really strange passage this afternoon when we sort of sailed into the edge of a bit of a low, a cut-off low, and I was worried about Dongfeng, and we tacked quite early to prevent Dongfeng undertacking us. And at that point, Brunel were nearly 10 miles behind, and Brunel and Måfre, who were about 4 or 5 miles behind us, sort of got this huge lifting gust and literally took 5 or 6 miles out of us in an hour. And actually, I thought they were going to be ahead of us, and it was a miracle, really. We managed to just eke out underneath them and round the mark in front of them. And in fact, with a 2-mile lead, which sounds comfortable, it would be comfortable if we didn't have to go around this island in the middle of the night.
So you would also wish it was more like sunrise for this finish line? You'd feel a bit more comfortable if you could see everyone around?
Yeah, obviously daylight's easier because you can see the wind on the water, or even if we just had a straight run in, how you normally do. Obviously they made us round this mark and dragged us in amongst all the islands, which maybe makes it more exciting for everybody else, but it's kind of the last thing we want after a tough offshore leg. It has been tough. I mean, a lot of sail changes in the first day or two, and then it was pretty bumpy and windy for a while. And in fact, we were still leaping off waves until the middle of this afternoon. So it's only really now when we got close to the coast that the seas have flattened off, and now it's quite comfortable.
How have your team and your boat held up? I mean, it's been brutal in the Bay of Biscay. Have you guys had any problems at all?
No, none at all. Boat's absolutely fine. And the people, we had a couple of people falling over, lifting sails in the tacks. We unfortunately, by taking the route up the Spanish coast, we ended up short tacking, which is not much fun in 30-35 knots of wind. So we did a lot of tacks, and obviously it's pretty easy to fall over and get squashed by a sail. So yeah, I'm sure there'll be a few bumps and bruises, but nobody will care about that if we manage to get across this finishing line in front of Dongfeng and Brunel.
Fair enough. All right, Ian, well, we will check back in with you soon probably just after you've crossed the finish line. Good luck to him until then. But let's talk about that, the tacking, the stacking in big breeze. And as he said, you can fall over, you can get destroyed by a sail. How does that process work, especially when it's 35 knots?
It's tough, yeah. The sails are hard to move themselves when it's quite flat. So when it's windy as well, and you're bouncing off waves, and you're trying to hold on and not fall over yourself, let alone move a couple of tons of gear. Moving the sails to leeward is quite a big and dangerous operation, and making sure that they stay there as well.
Basically, you're using gravity. You've got the sails to windward. You knock them off to the leeward side because you don't want to carry that ton.
You knock them off to the leeward side, but you try and not knock them off too far.
Not overboard, especially in this race where you're not allowed spares as easily.
Yeah.
And then the falling over. I mean, the whole process of actually getting injured and then having to continue, keep working as hard, or maybe go right back to sleep.
Yeah.
How do you work through that?
That once again is a mental game. It's basically every watch is basically playing a half of a rugby match. You're getting bounced around, you're tackling sails, you're getting battered and bruised. But it's just trying to get through it. You're just sort of waiting for the next off watch just to recover a little bit, and not easy.
Feel like you can be a real human being.
Yeah.
It's only been 3.5 days for these guys, but it has been quite a long and brutal leg, as they've said. Here you can just see quite how windy it was as they entered the Bay of Biscay. They rounded Cape Finisterre. They'd sailed up the Portugal coast. It was pretty light, actually, the first night. Really light. They were becalmed at points. And then essentially Cape Finisterre in Latin, it means Land's End. And they were into the notorious Bay of Biscay, and they were just into that. It was suddenly 30 to 35 knots, gusts up to 40 at points. Upwind, which is that much worse. I mean, the Southern Ocean, we talk about it being amazing because they get to be essentially riding the swells of the downwind waves. But upwind is a very different game.
Yeah, and especially in the bay, because the waves and chop is very small, so the boats are bashing and crashing the whole time. Whereas offshore, more so in a big ocean, you get bigger rolling waves, and they're more even, so you get into a bit of a rhythm. But yeah, Bay of Biscay is all bashing and crashing, and it's pretty uncomfortable.
Bashing and crashing in Bay of Biscay. Let's take a look at what it looked like for the sailors.
How's it going? Not really well, but I'm not feeling really good, so I'm struggling a little bit today. But what's the best news? The best news is that we are first. Woo!
God, I feel like we're clearly not getting wet, but you sort of feel like you're getting wet with some of those shots. And that was out in the middle of the bay. The interesting part was that half the fleet had gone west and decided to stay offshore and not tack. And then the other half, essentially all the boats with Spaniards on board, so some of the guys you're quite familiar with from Telefonica, they were the ones short tacking up the Galician coast, Costa de Morte, it's called in Galician, which means coast of death to us. It has quite a bad history in sailing and historic sailing. But then out into the bay, really rough, really difficult, and luckily now getting lighter for them. I think Knut Frosted on the water in Lorient actually has just spotted the girls on SCA. Knut, can you see them?
Not only see them, I am half a boat length from them. So I can absolutely see them.
Are there big waves and smiles on board?
No, actually, the water is getting a bit smoother here now. There's a little bit of waves, but, probably 10, 12 knots or something of wind. They look very comfortable. We have been yelling at, screaming to them, and they have been screaming back, so we have had communication.
Perfect. And how much further until they round Ile de Gras?
Oh, they have rounded. I mean, they have passed Ile de Gras.
Perfect.
So So they are now basically pointing at Lorient. And I'm sure Sam Davis is telling everyone where to go. She spent so much time sailing here. I was just meeting Sam's parents. They have docked their beautiful wooden ketch on the dock, waiting for Sam. So they are there, and they spoke about how Sam has been training here in Lorient for months and months and months, and she knows the water here really well. And there's no doubt that the people in Lorient knows Sam as well.
There's often a lot of magenta on the dock and in the race village, but there's going to be, 10 times more today, you think, Knut?
I think it's going to be, it's obviously quite early in the morning. When I came down, about an hour and a half, 2 hours ago, I met, there was only 4 people there down at the dock, and that was Annie Lush's parents and her sister, and I think a friend or something. Yes, so they had been waiting there for a long time. They said they didn't want to miss the moment, so they didn't want to take a risk to be late, so they were there like 4 hours ahead of the finish.
Oh, that's quite exciting. We can see they're doing about 9 knots, basically aimed at the finish line. What do you think? It'll be just one tack, Knut, or will they have to have a couple tacks before they get to the finish? We're actually able to see them now as well. Quite dark there, but go ahead.
I would say that they could lay from here, but it's a bit early to call that because the wind can shift closer to land. So it is so dark that I cannot really see exactly the finish from here. So, but it looks good. It looks good so far.
Are the photos all you guys, or are there media boats around you as well?
Yeah, there's media boats around here. There's boats with big lights, some TV boats. So even though it's in the middle of the night, there's clearly a lot of people who have an interest.
You almost can only tell it's the middle of the night because of how reflective it is. There's definitely something lighting them up right now. Maybe it's just their bow light. But what about the temperature there, Knut? It's been quite a cold leg for them, but is it still cold there as well?
Well, it's a lot colder than in Lisbon or the previous stopovers. So I'm wearing a warm jacket, some oilskin trousers, and my fleece. So I haven't used my fleece ever in the SCA race. So we're getting further north, but. No, it's nice. It's like Brittany, Brittany should be like this. Should be a bit sort of humid in the morning and a bit fresh. That's why all the French sailors are good sailors.
Knut, you can just see the girls dropping their masthead Genoa. Were they using that to get underneath the island at all, or did they just have it up just in case? The girls were just dropping their masthead Genoa. Were they using that to get around the bottom end of the island, or did they just have it up just in case they needed it?
Well, I think the girls now, they have the J1 and the mainsail, and they have the Costero just furled up there. So they just keep it ready in case they need it. But it looks like they're going pretty conservative and safe. And as I'm speaking, the sky is clearing up and we're getting millions of stars above the boat. Beautiful.
What about wind speed here, Knut? Because we're seeing they're now just doing 6 knots when earlier they were doing 11, obviously, in the reach. But is it lighter there in the bay?
No, the wind is dropping a bit when it gets closer to land here, clearly. And that's going to make it interesting, obviously, for the boats behind. I mean, that whole fight between second and seventh. No doubt that this lighter breeze closer to land is at least giving an opportunity for a compression.
If we were to look at the race course, looking towards the finish line being the upwind mark, left side is the shoreline, right side is Ile de Gras. Which way would you want to go if you're the fleet behind once they're aimed upwind towards the finish?
Well, obviously the first thing is to determine whether you can lay the mark or not, because if you can lay, you want to go as quick as you can to the mark. But I think, if you Vestas now, you probably get around that island and try to hike up a bit after the island to get yourself a weather position on Abu Dhabi, So you can kind of try to disturb the wind for Abu Dhabi, so to have a control. The worst thing would be that you end up to leeward and then you suddenly have no control anymore. As we speak, the wind has filled in again. So suddenly now SCA has for sure 5 to 6 knots more of wind. Maximum heel over again, and they have good pressure now. So now it's more like 12, 14 knots of wind, I would say. So the wind came back. It shifted a little bit left, which means a little bit more upwind. But I still think they they have a good chance of laying the finish line. It's a bit difficult for me to see from here, actually.
No, for us on the tracker, it definitely looks like there'll have to be one tack, if not two tacks, to then actually be in. So it'll be interesting, if not for SCA, then for the fleet behind. It's not quite an upwind. It's a much longer starboard angle, but it looks like they will at least have to spend some time on port. Which is good. To mix up the standings later could be quite interesting. Do you think we would see an early covering tack there by either Vestas or Abu Dhabi, or just sailing high, as you said, and then cover if needed with the boats behind when they tack?
Well, I think for sure we will see a covering tack from Abu Dhabi. I mean, if I'm sure Ian Walker now is almost paranoid about keeping Brunell and Dongfeng behind them. So I mean, they will never ever let Brunel now out on a different track than Abu Dhabi from the island. So my gut feeling is that Ian Walker is going to hike up as hard as he can as well to position himself in a way so he can control Brunel. So that's my guess. And then from there on, if Brunel tacks, he will tack, and so on.
Do you think they completely let Måfre go at this point?
Yeah, I think Ian only wants to control Brunel, and that's the right thing as well to do. You know, I mean, if you read the school books about how to win yacht races and how to win Olympic medals and how to win the Volvo Ocean race, he will tell you control your closest opponent in the overall scoreboard when you are so close to the finish. Because honestly, Måfre is not going to make all that difference. I mean, if Brunel passes Måfre, it means that at least our numbers is that Abu Dhabi at least has to finish the last leg, and they cannot retire from the last leg, because then they have 8 points in the last leg, and then if Brunel should win the last leg, they will then be on equal points, and then they have to race for the import race to decide. So I'm pretty sure that Ian is very pleased to have Måfre between.
Exactly.
But we're talking about very remote possibilities. I mean, I'm sure, even though Ian always says, I'm never thinking about winning, I'm sure that if it becomes that finishing order, he's still going to have a big smile on the finish line.
We might see a skipper dunked in the water at some point later today, at least. There's a question here, Knut. Is there an extra turning mark between where the fleet is now and the finish line, or are they direct to the finish from here?
Well, there is a mark, but I don't think they have to turn it with the course they have now. So I think they're going to lay above that.
Okay, they lay around it. Interesting. Can you see who's driving?
Yes, I can see that Sam Davies is driving. So we just have some lights on. At least if she hasn't handed her jacket over to someone else. But it says Davies. It says Davies on the back of the jacket.
Fair enough. Hopefully at this point they all have their own jackets. It's not quite like Dongfeng race team in leg 4 when he forgot his.
No.
Okay, and is breeze a little bit lighter again? Is it just puffy there? Because it looks like it's up and down in terms of their boat speed.
Yeah, it's been a bit up and down, but it's very solid wind. I mean, they are maximum heeled over. They have fully powered up here. It's not like it's light wind at all. I mean, it's wind out here, and I'm sure they're sailing around 10 knots of speed now, 9 knots of speed, and they have solid breeze. They're fully stacked on the rail. All the girls are sitting up on the rail. They have their warm hats on. It's been probably quite cold in the last couple of days. And I know how it is to do those upwind offshore legs. You've been bashed around for 3 days and fallen off your bunk, and impossible to eat. And it's so hard for the body, that constant tough movement. It's like G-force is hitting you every second from left and right. And just to get into the flat water close to the finish line is such a good feeling. You just suddenly feel like you're a human being again.
What about these short legs, Knut? I mean, it's a very different thing to go 3.5 days than it is to do the vast majority of the legs that they've done, which are about 20, 25 days at sea.
Oh, it's huge because, to get into a proper watch system rhythm, you need 2.5, 3 days, And so they don't have time to get into a rhythm. So it's going to be interesting to ask them, what's the longest sleep you had since Lisbon? Because my guess it's not been much, And even though when you sleep in heavy air upwind, big waves upwind, because the boat is launching off the waves all the time going upwind, it's almost impossible to sleep. I mean, it's really, really hard to sleep. Even if you're dead tired, you've been thrown around in the bunk, your nose hits the side of the boat like someone is knocking you from forward. It's really, really hard. So it's been tiring. I mean, upwind in strong air, strong wind, it's the toughest you can do with these boats. Just because of the movement inside the boat, it's so hard. It's really, really hard.
How do you deal with it, Zane, when it's actually that tough to sleep when you're launching off waves? You get in the bunk, you try to tuck yourself in as much as possible, and then do you just close your eyes and hope?
Yeah, you sort of hope fatigue takes over, really. You basically just try and prop yourself in a bunk to try and stay there. And it just depends on how tired you are. I mean, a race like this, you probably would be exhausted and you're just power napping, 10 minutes here, 20 minutes there. I mean, I knew it was rough when it was too rough to brush your teeth. Well, that's when you know that's rough.
Then it's too rough. If it's too rough too rough to brush your teeth for days, then are you just screwed?
Yeah, chewing gum.
It sounds like now we have the Spanish boat, Måfre, on the line. We actually might have just lost them. Sorry, got excited there for a second. We can see some images there, but their satellite connection isn't working perfectly for us right now. They're sitting fourth currently, and as Knut has said, they probably won't mix it up with Abu Dhabi. Abu Dhabi will be focused on Brunel, you think, huh?
Yeah. From what Ian was said, all his focus is on the two boats. I mean, he didn't even mention anything about Vestas or trying to get into them and get another point buffer between those other boats. His attention's on the boats behind him, and that's it.
Ideally for him, he has that one boat in between them. That really pads the scoreboard a little bit, makes you feel more comfortable going into the next leg, but we'll see. They have to round, as you could see earlier on the tracker, they have to round Mark 4. So it is an upwind beat to the finish, but basically the team's laying Mark 4 and then tacking towards the finish line. SCA here doing just that on starboard, aim towards Mark 4. And doing, a bit more breeze than what we saw earlier with the 6 knots. So 10 or 11 are good numbers upwind. But the interesting part here is 10 or 11 knots upwind in probably about that same amount of wind speed is basically the max they could do even when they had 30 knots upwind. It's not any fun to do just the exact same amount of speed, but 30 knots more, 20 knots more against you.
Yeah, but at least the water's flatter now. And they're probably pointing a lot higher. Being sort of an inshore mode now, the boat's pointing higher into the breeze, flatter water, so the angles are a lot better. Your VMG to the mark is actually quicker than what you are offshore there. Okay, fair enough.
Knut, are you still with us?
Yes, I am.
Do you have Mark 4 in sight yet?
No, not yet. Can race control see them closer?
Yeah, it looks to us like they are getting it, possibly within sight of it, but for you guys it is quite dark, so understandable you might not actually be able to see it at this point. It's not quite the finish line mark, so it's Mark 4, but what about the fleet behind? It looks like they'll be rounding Ile de Gros soon, so possibly you could see masthead lights?
No, we cannot see Måfre, no. We cannot. I mean, it's quite a few boats around here, so no, but we cannot see, I cannot see Måfre yet. I'm looking behind the boat here now.
Oh, sorry, I was saying masthead lights because it'll actually be Vestas, but I think you're right, the angle where you guys are to where the boats are, you won't quite see them maybe for another 10 minutes or so.
No, it will be Vestas next for sure.
All the girls up on deck here. And we've lost the whatever was lighting them. So there was something lighting them because we were seeing them quite well there. Are all the girls up on deck in the back of the boat, or is there anyone sort of closer to the bow? Is it light enough to have bodies middle or bow?
No, it looks like all of them are sitting on the stack or driving or trimming. So they're all sort of in the cockpit or sitting on the stack. And there's some red headlights. They're sort of getting ready with things, and I think they're just getting up, starting to move some sails. They probably start to prepare for attack, I think. Possibly moving some sails down below. That's quite common to do. So when you have the last tack before the finish, just to make sure you are very maneuverable and that you can tack quickly if you need to.
And you said it looks like they're preparing for attack now, or they're just getting ready to be able to attack soon?
No, I think it's more that they're getting sails, getting some sails down below in the boat, they're actually moving sails over to leeward side. That means they're getting ready for attack.
Yeah.
So they're getting the sails over on the leeward side, and that means setting up for a first attack here. So that means at least 2 attacks, as you were saying before. You can probably in race control see where they are compared to the marks better than I can, because it's so dark here, and when you look towards the city, you just see a lot of light.
It looks to us like if they were to attack now, they're a tiny bit early to lay Mark IV, but perhaps they know that there's a lift coming as well, maybe a little bit of a lefty, or maybe they're just setting up and will be, it'll take them sort of the 2 minutes to move all the sails, as we've said, before the tack.
Exactly. No, I think they're just setting up early to be safe.
So we can see just what we were talking about earlier with Zane, the girls on board moving the stack from the windward side to the leeward side using gravity to help them, just kind of shove the sails over the hatch, get them down as much as possible. And then this is the important part. As you said, you want to move the sails down there and then you don't want to lose them. So the girls strapping them in here.
Yeah, you can see the girls that just strapping them with the ratchet straps just to get them in tight. And also just to get them out to the edge of the boat. So when you tack over, last thing you want is the sail to slide in at all. And you're just losing that little bit of riding moment.
So you end up actually keeping them all the way on the leeward side, means all the way on the high side. And of course here it's exceptionally flat water compared to what they were going through earlier.
Yeah, for sure. It is when it's windy and wave. It is quite a big battle just to hold on and try and do that job as well.
It looks perhaps like they will be going into the tack now. They're all on the grinders. So go to leeward on the runner as well. Sally Barco, I think, will be putting on the windward runner once they tack and heading into the tack here.
You can just see the flashing light there on the bow, which will be the mark that they have to go around. When it's night time like this and there's a few boats around, it is actually quite difficult to see the mark on the horizon.
Yeah.
The girls have done quite a nice job there. I think they possibly have another 2 tacks
Towards the finish line. And here we go. There's the grinding finish. So actually they've got to be in, as you said, not the Masthead Code 0, a smaller jib. Probably the J1, right? Canute, are you still there?
Yes, the J1. That's the biggest head sail. So.
And then that.
They're all,
That last grind there is just to bring up the dagger board, I believe.
They still have the big Code 0 furled up on the bow. In case it drops light, no risk.
Did it look like it got light towards the finish line when you were coming out from the bay, or does it look like the breeze is pretty stable?
It looks very stable. They just started now dropping the Code 0, so they're just lowering that on the bow. So then they're going to be left only with the J1 and the mainsail. So they probably realize that there is wind all the way in now. I guess Sam, having been here so many times, he says, we're in Lorient, there's this much breeze, it's going to be wind all the way to the finish.
It actually looks to us on the tracker like they're laying both Mark IV and possibly the finish line from where they tacked. As Zane was saying earlier, you can see Mark IV on their bow, the blinking light, and then the finish just beyond that. It sounds like we have some fans as well in Lorient of SCA, as you were saying, Canute. What's waiting for them at the dock?
Oh yeah, no, there's going to be lots of people waiting. We met the whole SCA group earlier yesterday, and they were all starting to warm up for this arrival. You can feel the atmosphere. It was good, very good.
It's great as well. We've got some fans online. You can see the tweets. Essentially coming in. Tons of support for SCA. It is a huge task though for the girls. They've had some amazing import races. They've won twice in the imports, but offshore they have so far struggled. They haven't managed the podium. They haven't actually managed better than 6. So to actually be coming in winning here, amazing. We're reading a tweet here that says, we cannot see masthead lights. Winning by a mile is not appropriate anymore. Better said, winning by 10 miles. So Knut, it sounds like this one's in the bag, yeah?
Well, I think so. And they have actually managed better than fifth, Jenny. They managed fifth on the way to Brazil. Do not forget that. But when Dongfeng broke them on. But I think that this looks absolutely in the bag. I mean, it's getting a bit lighter here now, flatter water, very smooth. I mean, it's never over before it's over. I think way too many sailors have celebrated too early, you know. But this looks absolutely in the box. It's great. They really deserve it, and they have done a fantastic race and really been so close, and they're getting better and better. And I also hope this is going to be a huge inspiration for them and many other girls to get into ocean racing, and for the girls on Team SCA to continue racing, because they're starting building something now that I think is very, very important for the future.
Exactly. Well, what about just the future of this race? How do you think winning this leg affects their mentality going into the final sprint leg to Gothenburg?
Well, winning is always good. Whatever way you turn it and twist it, it's always great, you know. There's no better motivation than winning, and that's obviously it gives them confidence. They have proven to themselves that they can not only win, they can lead, they can extend the lead, they can control it, and they can finish it and finish the job, you know. And also, I mean, it's no doubt that upwind Team SCA is a very, very strong team. You know, like they sail fast, they make good choices, you know, good technically, and it's very possible that we also have a lot of upwind on the next leg. You know, both to The Hague and also from The Hague to Gothenburg. So, well, who knows? Maybe they win the next leg too. You never know.
Yeah, exactly. What about the fact that essentially they've had really good boat speed upwind? We've heard all the different teams have their different strengths. Often we've talked about the girls being strong in the import racing and in the upwinds. Do you think that is a part of their psyche that they just keep in the bag? Excited for a leg like this and for a Gothenburg leg?
Yeah, I mean, you use it when you can, you know. I guess Ian Walker said it in Lisbon in the press conference that this race, it hasn't been that much upwind, you know. I remember last race, the sailors were complaining there was way too much upwind, and they were sailing upwind around the world. But this time it hasn't been that much upwind. It has been a lot more sort of medium to light downwind reaching conditions than we had last race, and less what we call VMG upwind, which is like full upwind with tacking. So. Yeah, no, the girls are definitely getting the leg now, that's for sure.
Do you agree with that one, Zane? Was there too much upwind sailing around the world the last leg?
I agree with
that. In the
last
race?
There was a lot. And we had some windy upwind as well. Yeah. I mean, leaving Alicante, even leaving China, it was quite big upwind conditions and a lot of sailing upwind, so I think these guys should feel quite lucky.
Fully agree with that. Is it just luck of the draw then? Just the weather systems working out the way they worked out for this race that they had better reaching around the world, Knut?
Yeah, I mean, it's a bit year by year, you know, like you there's a lot of luck involved, and if you look at luck or bad luck, I mean, if you look at the weather scenario sailing up here, I mean, if we had started a couple of days later from Lisbon, you know, the guys could have been going downwind or reaching all the way. I mean, it's timing, you know. In particular on these short legs, there's a lot more spread in the time for a short leg than it is in a long leg, you know, percentage-wise. So these short legs can go extremely fast. I was looking at a scenario from Lorient to Sweden, where we were almost sailing downwind non-stop, you know, and doing the whole thing as super fast, and then you look 2 days later and suddenly it's going to take almost 2 days longer. So, it's a bit of luck involved in the upwind side, but on the longer leg it should be, I mean, but in particular when we go to Asia, Middle East, and that part, also from China to New Zealand, you know, you can get some pretty special weather scenarios with cyclonic effects and other things that can influence it a lot, you know.
So Knut, I'm guessing you can't quite see the finish line yet. Here in Race Control, we're seeing they're about 2 miles from the finish line, 2.0, in fact, at this moment, doing 9 knots, so it should be quite soon.
Yeah, no, I can see the finish line now. I can see, well, there's a lot of boats at least. I assume they're out the finish line. And we're sort of pointing there now. So and the breeze is coming back. It's feeling windy again. It's actually becoming more windy again.
It's quite early in the morning for so many boats, huh?
Yeah, that's very early to get up in the morning. There must be some hardcore Bretons who are out in their boats. Hello?
Yep, still here. We're seeing Sam
yeah.
and then Libby on the side with her tablet up top, huh?
Yeah, now I see Libby is getting close to Sam there, and she's obviously watching her computer screen. I can see Caroline Brower is sitting just in front of the steering wheel, looking tirelessly at the mainsail.
And then
Still trimming.
it's got to be incredible as well for the Swiss sisters, the Metro sisters, the first time in the history of this race that we've had sisters racing on board together to get to be able to have this phenomenal leg win and be on board together. It's got to be a good moment, even for Elodie, who's spent most of the leg quite seasick and admitting herself she hated the waves and was just hoping that they could keep winning because that was the thing that was keeping her together.
Absolutely. Definitely the first two Swiss sisters to win the World Ocean Race. Leg.
We can see, I think it's just, we're seeing someone wave as well, though I can't see who that is. The Metros are hard because you can just see Metro, but I think probably there's an E or a J to the left of it. Not seeing either. Caroline Brower, of course, the one who drives on the import races and the starts of the legs, Olympic sailor, Olympic tactician, now on the mainsail, correct, Knut?
Yeah, that's correct. It looks like she's carrying the mainsail. It's a bit. I'm looking for the weather side, so I don't see what she's holding in her hand. But yeah, I can see some smiles. There's some hands going up in the air. I see Sophie. Sophie there. She's Sophie Sisek. She's looking like a big smile. You can see that even here in darkness.
Some big hugging there as well between. I think that's Justine and Sally Barco.
Yeah. I mean, it's such a good feeling, you know.
It's amazing.
There's no better things in the world than winning a World Ocean Race leg.
And at this point, the finish line in sight. I mean, as you've said, it's never over until they cross the line, but it's got to start to feel a little bit like relief at this moment.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, yes, absolutely. They are. They have this one in the box. That's 100% sure. But I think it's just a relief. There's so many things with it. It's not only winning a leg. It's like, you know, they've had a really tough race, you know, a really, really tough race. And all that distance, you know, almost more than 35,000 miles they've sailed to get here. And finally nail it. It's such a relief.
And it's pretty amazing. Beautiful boat. Wonderful team. So excited. What is the feeling winning a leg? What does it feel like?
Great.
Yeah.
Yeah, especially after a tough leg like this, where it's been really windy and a proper battle. And it all comes down to this moment. I mean, it's just a fantastic feeling. You know, you're stuck in tingling on your skin, and the closer to the finish line you get. Yeah, I think the girls probably will show a bit of emotion once they cross the line, which would be good.
Yeah, they need it at this point. They need this win, they want this win, and they at this point have earned this win, this leg, with, as you said, a very, very tough leg. Finish in sight, lots of support online. And if you're watching, of course, with us online, make sure to tweet in. Not just support for Team SCA, tweet in anything about the Volvo Ocean Race. But of course, right now, lots of support for Team SCA as they're now within 2 miles to the finish line of leg 8. We'll try to get the stats for exactly how far they've sailed this leg. It was 647 miles, I think, Lisbon to Lorient, but of course, going upwind, they have to sail a lot further than that. Looks like what the girls have sailed is 848.5, so they will probably just have done over 850 as they cross the line. And it really is actually wonderful to hear the support you guys online. Please do keep sending them in. They're gonna have proud sponsors ashore as well, Team SCA. I think they have proud coaches as well. There's a bet with their coaching staff. They have Brad Jackson, Yaka, and Axel, and the boys are not fans of wearing pink or magenta. So I'm pretty sure the bet was that if they won a leg, they had to wear pink. Now I'm not sure if it's for 24 hours, and of course the color is magenta. I'm not sure if it's for 24 hours. I do know it is on the dock at the current moment. The coach is all in bright Team SCA colors. How do you think Yoko would feel about that?
I can tell you, Jenny, I can tell you that there's some rumors in the race village about the different outfits they have made ready for Brad Jackson. I can't wait to see Brad Jackson in a tight lycra sort of magenta dress,
Oh, I heard it was magenta. I didn't know it looked quite like that. Especially Brad, who's a pretty reserved Kiwi fellow, huh?
Yeah.
Or what about a mini skirt for Axel Magdal? I think that would be good.
It's a what?
Magenta mini. I think
A
a
mini
magenta
skirt.
mini skirt would be nice for Axel.
And what about Yaka?
If anyone have magenta mini skirts in Lorient, just hand them into the race office, and we will make sure that the coaches are wearing it.
The coaches, though, quite proud for this team. It's been a long 2 years of training and racing now, paying off with this leg win, leg 8. You can see another rib on the far side, which maybe we're seeing you now, Knut. Or are you just to windward of them?
I'm next to the camera. I'm in the same boat as the camera, so I'm seeing what you're seeing. Now, there's quite a few ribs there. I can count 1, 2, 3, 4. There's at least 8, 10 ribs following us, and then there's quite a lot of boats on the finish line. So just in front of us, I can count 20, 30 boats on the finish line. So at least you got to remember this is in the middle of the night.
It looks actually pretty pitch black.
And we are actually quite far from land. We can't sail all the way in at this time of the day. It's a very, very narrow passage into the port of Lorient. And in particular with upwind, it's so narrow that it's not worth it taking the risk when it's so dark. So we have 2 optional finish lines. We have used the outside one to make sure that we have a safe finish.
And it looked like from that rib camera we could just see the 2 blue flashing lights of the finish line there. Is that right?
Yeah, that is the blue flashing light is actually a police boat there, but we are now very, very close to the finish line.
Yeah, you can almost see. You can see Abby Ehler. I think maybe it was I'm not sure quite what halyard it was, but she was uncoiling a halyard from down below, which means getting ready to almost think about, after having crossed the finish line, what you have to do next. Good waves from the fleet, though, from the girls here.
Yeah. They still have a little bit of distance. There's so many boats out there now that it's almost impossible to see the finish boat.
We can see, as we just said, Abby Ehler, I think bringing out a halyard earlier. Now she's just finished uncoiling the halyard. Just these little jobs to do to get ready to A, finish, and then B, be on the dock as soon as possible after the finish, right, Zane?
Yeah, get all the sails down, get them packed up, unplug the mainsail. Yeah, it's still quite a big job to actually get on the dock and see everyone.
Well, here is on the dock, Team SCA supporters. I think the umbrellas may be more like sunbrellas. It doesn't actually look like it's raining, but quite dark at night. Did you ever actually have any rain today, Knut? We had rain in the forecast for this evening, but I'm not sure if it ever hit the fleet or if it hit you guys there in Lorient. Well, it sounds like we maybe have lost Knut.
No, I'm here.
Ah, there we go.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yep.
We were just wondering, we saw rain in the forecast for the fleet. I'm not sure if they got it. Did you guys get any rain in Lorient?
Yeah, we had a little bit of rain just for an hour or two.
Yeah.
That's something you have here. It's kind of normal. So, well, I can see more and more of the details of the finish boat. So we are getting very, very close to the finish line here. You see all the girls on SCA here. They're staring at the finishing boat. They're also looking one direction. It's one magic place on the planet. So we have to get to.
That is something Sam brought up, the fishing nets. She said it's really not over till we cross the finish line because there's fishing nets everywhere. At this point, they are just 0.5 mile, so half of a mile to the finish line on the official stats here in race control.
Getting my phone out so I can catch catch the picture when they. I'm sure there will be some arms in the air.
And from our LiveX video, it almost looks like a ghost ship. You could just barely see Sam helming on the windward side, but can't see anyone else. They must all, okay, here we go. Annie Lush coming up from below to come out on the high side.
So now we have, I would say we have about five boat lengths left to the finish line. Maybe four lengths left.
Amazing. Within 4 boat lengths to such a incredible monumental win for these girls.
Race officer Bill O'Hara is standing there. Bill O'Hara, he's been involved with women and sailing. He's known these girls for quite a lot, in coaching women match racing in the Olympics. And there we go, about 2 boat lengths left to the finish line. They're just gonna cross it up. Maybe they're even gonna try to make it tack.
You think they will have to make a tack? Is that what you just said?
No.
No.
They're just fine.
We're seeing finish line in shot here as well. We've got a boat anchored, it looks like.
That is the finish boat.
It's funny, finish line's almost directly on their bow, so.
They finished. There we have the winner of leg 8, Team SCA. Fantastic, congratulations. What a victory.
And there we go, the hugs on board. Team SCA.
Very, very happy.
Completing leg 8 in the lead after having held the lead for such a long, such a brutal leg, and of course, such a huge achievement for this team, for any team to win a leg of the Vava Ocean Race. The girls on board Team SCA, the women, quite excited there.
Wow!
Now they all look very, very happy. This is a big moment for this team. This has been a long moment coming, and I'm sure it, as you can see there on the face of Sally Barco and Sophie Sizig, it looks like such a relief.
Well done!
Incredible achievement for Team SCA. The winners, leg 8, Lisbon and Lorient taking the lead, and for Sam Davies taking the lead into her home country now. Very close to her home, in fact. And then it looks like it's back to work.
Yeah.
Okay.
Fantastic. You couldn't have written this book better, huh?
On the bow, please.
They really couldn't have raced this leg better. It was all about the very first night, them being inshore, and essentially the whole fleet was becalmed, and SCA just got the breeze best inshore and took off. And from there, they've been able to defend everything from 0 knots that night to 35 to 40 knots out in the Bay of Biscay, and essentially extending and holding a lead of about 11, 12 miles at the most. So it was never really an easy lead. It's a decent lead, but that's not 20 miles. That's still just one problem could have been no longer in the lead. Here we go, though. We can hear cheers as well from spectator boats. And finally, Sam Davies doing a little dance and jump herself. So we saw the jib come down there. The girls, as Zane was saying, have to get ready now to get to the dock. There's actually a lot more that goes into it after you've crossed the finish line before you can be ashore. Hugging your family, your coaches, and your fans. We'll be hoping to speak with Sam soon as well. And we can see a rib coming up alongside. I think maybe they'll be passing off the phone for us to talk to Skipper Sam Davies.
Guys, I've lost comms.
We know Pittman, Abby Ehler, her husband Tom Ehler, is one of the race management
Okay,
marks
copy
at
that. This all went very
boat
quiet.
drivers. I think that's actually his rib there saying hello to his wife. Such a proud husband. And you can see Abby now on board actually standing in the middle of screen. She's probably just said her hellos.
Okay. Head up this way if you can. Just try and stay close if you can. I know it's difficult.
This is Abby actually just very in front of camera here. I think finally seeing him to windward and giving her highs. It's always a good moment, right, to see your loved one.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, once you cross the finish line, that's when you can start keeping an eye out for all the people in the ribs that you know.
Thinking about the rest of it, not the racing, actually life ashore.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I mean, yeah, the racing now at this stage is the last thing you're thinking about. Yeah, you think about seeing family and friends and eating, eating proper food. And,
Sleeping, I bet, after this one.
No, the adrenaline's still there at the moment, I'd say. So you're not really thinking too much about sleeping, but yeah, we'll certainly take a few days to recover from this one.
It looks like we have Sam Davies now, at least in sort of shot. Sam, if you could lean down a little bit, we'll get your face in frame. There we go.
Can I?
Yes, you can.
Okay.
You can adjust it at will. Huge.
No, I don't think I can.
Huge congratulations to us from here in Race Control, to all of us from ashore. You don't know how big the support has been for you guys online tonight. So many tweets about Team SCA crossing the line, winning leg 8. Massive congratulations from us, Sam.
Thanks, Jenny. Thanks to everybody for all your support. And I don't think it's really sunk in yet.
When do you think it will sink in?
Probably when we hit the dock and we see that there aren't any other boats there.
Let's talk about what a monumental leg this was, from the very first night where you were becalmed in 0 knots, essentially, to getting the breeze first and then being able to defend the lead since then. That is a long period of time, 3.5 days to keep the lead. How did you guys keep cool?
I think, well, we just sailed how we always sail, and I think we had so much to concentrate on, just trying to sail well. We didn't really panic too much about defending the lead, because I think in the Bay of Biscay and the conditions we had, there was a lot of other things that could have happened in 35 knots. So it was more about keeping the boat in one piece and looking after the crew there. And we knew, although the leg was short, that I guess in effect, when you've got those conditions ahead of you, you've still got a long way to go. So no, we just kept sailing how we always sail, and it did us good.
What do you think this leg win means for your team going forward?
Well, I think for us it's a reward for all the work that we've done, and all the work our whole team has done and put into, and I think it's a great confidence booster. We've shown that we can do it in the import races, and now this is our first real podium. I think we were hoping to get a podium on a leg, and a leg win, that's just even better. So for sure it's going to be huge for us, and great to do it in this leg. We've still got one more to go, and I think that's going to set us off towards Gothenburg really, really positive.
I was going to ask you what it would mean for you towards Gothenburg, but you've just answered that. So then we'll leave you with this final question. What do you think it means for the rest of the world out there who are following you guys, not just the females, but everyone who's been inspired by your team so far in this Volvo Ocean Race?
Well, I hope that they just keep following us. I think that everyone who's following us knows how much hard work we've put in, how hard the Volvo Ocean Race is, and how incredibly difficult it is to just get on the podium. And I think I think everyone who follows us realizes how big this is to get here, and how much, well, what a mountain we've climbed to get here. So just keep following us.
Well, huge congratulations, Sam. You keep saying podium, but you've won this leg and you've very much earned it and deserve it. Congrats to your team, and we'll see you all at the dock.
I'm just watching the girls. I'm just watching the girls with the leg winner flag on the bow, and that's a pretty good sight to see.
It's a reminder for you. Well, thanks, Sam. Well done.
Exactly. Thanks, Jenny. Bye.
Bye. Oh, amazing. It's like she can't wrap her head around it. She said podium repeatedly, but they've won this leg.
Yeah.
It's a win.
Yeah, a big smile on her face there. It's good to see.
Yeah. And a good calm reaction as well. They haven't quite actually gotten it. It's not quite wrapped around in her head yet. She's basically thinking at the dock, but I'm not sure if it'll even sink in until later today, if not.
Yeah, I think on the dock once she arrives there and see everyone there cheering them on will be even a bigger smile on her face, if that's possible.
And her coach is in pink. We've just seen I don't know what Knut thought about legging and lycra, but what it looks like is they're all in actually pink sweaters. That's what I'm seeing in our chats from what's coming on shore. But as we could see, tons of fans there, all in magenta, tons of SCA supporters at every finish always, but especially here for this finish with the team having done so well. Here's the dock in Lorient. And still it is quite early in the morning. It's 4:20 here in Europe. We always think about UTC time when the sailors are offshore, but now we can think about real time. The sun will be rising in about an hour and 30 minutes. So perhaps as the final fleet is coming in on this leg, we'll have a little bit of sunlight. Still on board with the girls, looking quite happy. And Sam putting her hat back on, so maybe it is still cold. So this is SCA. We'll check in on the rest of the fleet, where they are just behind SCA as they're rounding Ile de Grace. Vestas looks to have just rounded, in fact, and it's gotten lighter since the girls rounded. They were doing 8 knots, if not 11 knots. Vestas, they're doing about 4. Abu Dhabi will just be rounding the corner. Still on a reach, 14 knots. And Ian was nervous earlier about cutting it too close or going too wide. What do you think of their track here?
Yeah, he's certainly gone a bit closer in than Vestas has on the tracker there. I think that's just sort of showing that he wants to protect the inside, just in case any boat tries to come up inside of him there. Not having a visual on the mark there that they need to go around, he would just be protecting the windward side of the course.
Protecting against Måfre a little bit. Actually, it looks like Måfre is almost exactly on their line there. So that's the next 3 boats behind. That's essentially 2nd to 4th that we're seeing just rounding Ile de Grace. Right now, we've got Joe Picard down on the dock in Lorient, I believe with a member of the medical staff of Team SCA, Antonio. Good out to you, Joe.
Good morning, Jenny, and welcome back to the dock here in Lorient. And from me, on a personal note, a huge congratulations to all of the ladies on Team SCA. I could see it in their eyes when they left the dock in Lisbon. What an amazing, amazing job. I'm joined with Antonio, the team doctor for Team SCA. Antonio, if this is not a story of never, ever giving up fighting, I don't know what is.
Well, this is Bonjour, Laurent. This is an epic leg for Golden Page and the Volvo Ocean Race for the rest of their life.
It is, absolutely, and they've done an amazing job dominating since the Spanish coast. So I saw a picture this morning from Vicky, who works for Team SCA communication, of the guys, the team coaches. Have you been shopping with them by any chance?
Yeah, we've been shopping. Today, Lorient is welcome to Magenta World, you know. So our coaches have been dressing up today as a Magenta, so we were shopping yesterday, so they will be dressed up like in a very nice way, just to welcome all the crew, you know.
So the girls are not only going to sing live on the Arrivals stage their theme song that they sang and recorded back in Alicante, but the team coaches, I didn't think that Brad Jackson would ever see him in full magenta, but today is the day. They promised that they were going to dress in magenta if the girls got on the podium, and they've not just on the podium, but they're first. Jenny, just to let you know, we've got fans lining up on the dock here. We've got a sea of magenta, as always, in in the dock supporting Team SCA. It's an amazing vibe here when they crossed over the line. It was just incredible. Everybody cheering and just really, really behind the girls. Of course, we've heard competitors and fans alike just supporting the girls on this first position. So it really is amazing. We'll hopefully get some words from the girls when they come into the dock, and hopefully from the team coaches as well. We'll try and get them on camera so you can check out their suits.
Well, that was Jo on the dock, and she was with Antonia, their team doctor. What is the role of the team doctor? I mean, right now, he's probably not thinking at all about his role. He's thinking about congratulating his team. But what are they there for? What are they doing at each stopover and all of the lead up to the start of the Volvo?
The doctors are more like probably the fathers of the team, really. They're just out to look after the team. So the girls would come ashore, obviously do some interviews, some podiums, but then they're straight up getting blood tests, blood pressure done, getting your weight measured, you're getting your body fat measured, just so they can have a base of what you need to work on as soon as you're on shore. So it's a very important role, and yeah, they spend the whole time just looking after you.
What do you remember of your stats as the race goes on? I mean, it is a very long race. It takes a huge toll on the sailors, on their bodies. How do those numbers maybe decline as the race goes on?
The first two legs is the toughest on the body. I remember leg one, I lost about 7 or 8 kilos.
Wow.
Obviously, a lot of that's dehydration, but you know it is you're losing a lot of body fat and a lot of muscle. I remember my first leg into Cape Town, we had had all our body fat and all our testing done.
What were you being handed here? Sorry, we're seeing some images of Zane on Telefonica.
I think that's actually my birthday then.
Yeah, it looked like it might have been some yummy food. But keep going.
So yeah, after leg one, I had all my tests, all the results come back, and basically got the all clear from the doctor to do nothing for the next few days and eat as much as I can.
Nice.
which has made me pretty happy as well. He
Yeah.
said, yeah. As much ice cream as I could have.
Once you have real food, that's the thing that's nice after freeze dried. Even just 3 days of freeze dried, you must be sick of it, done with it, and ready for colder food, ice cream especially.
Yeah, or just it's mainly food you can chew. A nice steak, or just nice, actually proper crisp vegetables or something like that. But as you go out throughout the race, you, like I said, you lose quite a lot of weight on that first leg, and then the stopover you eat a lot of nice food, and you put a lot of that weight back on. Leg 2, I think I only lost about 4 or 5 kilos, and then you sort of you find your
rhythm,
optimal weight. These last few legs, this leg they might have lost a few kilos through dehydration, but the transatlantic leg, weight loss would be at a minimal, and you'd be into the rhythm of it.
Yeah, you'd hope so. A team who might have lost some dehydration weight this leg, Dongfeng race team, I know they've had a water maker problem, so they basically said, you're thirsty, you pump it yourself, which is not going to be any fun for that team, but at least it's almost over. At this point, it's been 3 days, 13 hours, so just over 3.5 days for the whole fleet. SCA has just finished, so if you've just joined us, Team SCA with their historic first win for that team in this Volvo Ocean Race. Vestas now having rounded Ile de Gras, Abu Dhabi as well, and they are aimed towards Mark 4, which you can just see off the bow of Vestas there. They have to tack around Mark 4 and into the finish line. And doing 10 knots, we saw them earlier doing only 6 as they'd first rounded, but now they look comfortably into the bay there.
Yeah, absolutely. You can see Abu Dhabi taking quite a higher road than Vestas there. I'm hoping Vestas have got all the range on their keel. Like I said before, Abu Dhabi would certainly be protecting the inside. But yeah, Vestas take quite a straight line there. Obviously want to only do it in one tack.
And actually here we are just behind Vestas now. Knut, so you've gone back out to the water. You can see Team Vestas win. How do these guys look? They must also be happy having just had such a massive 6-month race to get back into the race and then to be essentially, hopefully, finishing in second if all goes well for them.
Well, that is as good as the second place can possibly be. I think they must be extremely happy. mean, I must say that I've been a bit scared, you know, that the first night we had in the Biscay, you know, and having a brand new boat that you never really have tested, and straight out from the boatyard, you know, a couple of days on the water in Lisbon, and then straight out to 40 knots of headwinds in the Bay of Biscay. That's the ultimate test, and no, it's absolutely fantastic to see them. It's I almost think it's surreal every time I've seen this boat the last 10 days, you know, in Lisbon and here. It's just like, wow, it's back, you know. You almost it's almost like a dream, like a bad dream, a nightmare, and you're woken up from it, and the boat is here. So it's no, I'm stoked to see them. It's really, it's great, and I mean and they're a very strong team. You know, there's no doubt that this team would have been a very tough team to beat in the race if they had been in the whole race, and now they're proving that, and it's great to have them back.
We loved their hashtag Blue is Back was a hashtag that was taking off in Lisbon when they essentially arrived. But did you actually expect them to be doing this well? I mean, I know, as you've just said, for the race, had they been there the whole time, yes, we could have expected them to be fighting for the win, if not the podium. But did you think they would be able to manage this coming back into it?
Well, I mean, I must admit that, you know, until that boat actually hit the water in Lisbon, I was thinking of all the things that could go wrong, you know, because there were so many things that could really not have worked out. And a lot of people who are not really boat builders or have been involved directly in this project don't know how many things that could have gone wrong, and you just would have slipped with a day or two. So that was kind of most of my mind. I wasn't even contemplating, thinking about how these guys would perform, you know, like that would be like, that's like dreaming. So for me, it's, I was just very pleased to see them leaving Lisbon, and that they're sailing well, and that they have done a fantastic leg. I mean, they've sailed really well from the beginning. You know, they went up in the lead even very early, right after Lisbon, and they've been sort of at the top the whole time. And sailed fast, sailed well strategically, and it's just great to see them back in the race. I feel for these guys. I mean, they had a very, very tough last 6 months, and it's just great to see that they can not only be back, but back and perform.
What about the dynamic on board? They have a new navigator, Tom Addis, who hasn't actually sailed with Nico before this. He said he was aware of him, he'd raced against him, but they haven't sailed together yet. And it's a short leg, so it is really tactically quite crucial, navigationally quite crucial. How do you think that relationship would have panned out for them to have to be learning that on the fly in a leg like this?
Well, I think that, you know, they don't have much time to make mistakes. They kind of have to stick to the basic things to get the basic things right. And I'm sure I know Tom Addis quite well. I mean, he's raced in this race before, and he's a very professional guy. And Nico is a professional guy, so I think they will deal with that just in a very professional way, not making it complicated, just, you know, stick to basics, have good communication, and in fact the leg is complex, but it's not that complex, you know, like you have land on one side pretty much the whole way, and you have to, that limits your options, and then you have to just keep the flow. And one advantage with one of these short legs is that you don't sleep much, so you kind of keep chatting and talking all the time, you know, you have to keep non-stop. While if you go into the longer legs, you get into these breaks and routines and rhythms, and suddenly you can miss things. So, I'm not surprised that they're sailing well. That's not a huge surprise to me.
You're able to do it. It looks like they're sailing a much wider angle than what SCA approached towards Mark IV. They're going to have a longer distance after they tack to actually get to Mark IV. Has the breeze shifted, or are they just sailing a bit deeper their canoe?
No, I think SCA had a little bit of the same. We had a period there in the middle where they came a bit upright and had less breeze, and we had the same thing. And then when they got closer to Lorient again, then the breeze increased again. I can actually see the nav lights in Abu Dhabi. So Abu Dhabi is not. I wouldn't say that Abu Dhabi has a good shot at beating Vestas, but they don't really. They're too far behind. But we can see them, so no doubt they're there. And I can see quite two other nav lights behind them again. I don't know if that's possibly possibly Måfre and Brunell. We know that Brunell has some problems with one of their reporting systems for the telemetry from the boat, so we're not getting very frequent positions from Brunell. So for the public who's watching the live tracker, just be aware that sometimes the update from Brunell is not as frequent as the other boats. So sometimes they look like they're further behind than they are. But the latest report is that Brunell is just ahead of Albumedica. And then
Yeah, exactly that. Exactly that we're seeing on the tracker. You've got with you is Vestas, behind them Abu Dhabi, just on their stern Måfre, and then soon to be rounding that corner. So maybe you can see them, Team Brunel and Albumedica.
Yeah, I think it's Måfre. I can see the nav light up, and then Abu Dhabi in front of that. So, but no, there's no chance for Abu Dhabi to catch Vestas. That's for sure. Vestas is way too far ahead of Abu Dhabi. So I think Vestas have that second place pretty well in the box, as long as they do all the things right from here and make the right tack and point to the finish. Starting to get the feeling of daylight here. It's getting a little bit lighter, and
perfect.
Definitely there's some daylight on its way.
That'll make the teams feel a bit more comfortable, especially Abu Dhabi, who's still covering the boats behind. It looks like Vestas will be tacking soon. If they're not getting ready to already, they will be getting ready to soon. But I think we actually have on the line right now Måfre onboard reporter Francisco Vignale. Francisco, can you hear us?
Yes, hello, how are you guys?
Hello, wonderful, and yourselves?
Very good. Here fighting for a place in the podium against Abu Dhabi that is just in front of us.
Do you think you still have options to get onto the podium?
Yes, of course. We see clearly that in front of us is getting light, and we might have a chance to pass them. We see that Vestas is far away, so it's not a clear option, but Abu Dhabi is still good to go, you know. This is not finished until you cross the line, so many things can happen, and they are less than a mile in front of us.
Fair enough. Anything that could go wrong, or anything that could
actually they're half.
Go ahead.
Yeah, they're half a mile in front of us, so as I told you, everything can happen, and right now wind's pretty steady, but still we think we can manage to pass them.
Fran, let's talk about last night. You've had a very intense leg, but then last night there was this big decision, I guess yesterday, this big decision about when to tack for the overall ley line in Bay of Biscay, and then still a couple shifts left in the game that brought you guys back into touch with Abu Dhabi Ocean Racing. Were you involved in those navigational conversations where you were able to get back into the game?
Yeah, of course, everybody was awake because it was a specific moment, and you know, everybody is paying attention to it. So yeah, when it happened, we were waiting for a wind shift. So I think Abu Dhabi went a little bit early and first of everybody, and we went second. And as soon as we tack again. So we have to do 2 more maneuvers to follow the fleet. But Abu Dhabi was the first one going, so it was a big decision for them.
And sorry, say again why you tacked twice? We were wondering that in the office.
Yeah, we did because was behind us was Brunel and Dongfeng and Albumedica. So what we saw from Abu Dhabi tacking first is that they were closing Dongfeng and Albumedica. So we decided to follow them. But then we realized that Brunel was coming low on us. So we decided to cover them as well. But when we tack, they tack. So so we have to tack again.
Okay, fair enough. Fair enough. And you said it's getting lighter here. What is the breeze strength you guys have right now?
Right now we have a true wind speed of 14 knots, but outside was 20. We are upwind, straight upwind to the mark, but it was getting lighter. And lighter.
Hey Fran, I have Zane Gills with me. He sailed with Xabi on board Telefonica. He wants to ask how Xabi's doing.
Yeah, Xavi is quite busy now. He was available for Live X like 15 minutes before, but now everybody is full on, you know, and he's doing good, you know. He's an amazing skipper and an amazing person. So he's I think he deserves a place in the podium in this leg.
Okay, fair enough. Well, as you said, it's not over till it's over, so there's still a bit of time left for you guys to try to get onto the podium. We'll speak to them as they get closer to the finish line. You could see shots of Vestas there. It looks like they have just tacked, so aiming towards Mark IV now on port tack. And funny, it's easy to see there are just a couple less bodies on board when we see the guys' teams.
Yeah, they've actually put most of their sails downstairs as well. There's one up there in the bow. Yeah, just make those manoeuvres easier. Probably a few less crew just to move those sails, so they just tucked them downstairs and not to worry about it.
Okay, so we've got Vestas there, we've got ashore, Team SCA supporters ready to welcome their team. Here's Joe Picard with, I think, friends of Libby Greenoff, navigator.
Hey Jenny, we do have friends of Libby Greenhouse, and thank you so much. We are joined by Vicky, H and Sarah, who are all die-hard fans of Team SCA, as you can see by their beautiful magenta hair here. Okay, so girls, tell me about you. How much have you been following the race, and where have you come from today to support Team SCA?
I've come over from Italy to support Libby. We needed to see her to come in. We made some commitment with the pink because I put her in a god-awful bridesmaid dress for my wedding some years ago. And we've been following it from right from the start. It's awesome to see them doing so well, and all the achievements they've made along the way. It's awesome. Perfect day to be here.
Vicky, you seem to have dyed your hair an incorrect colour. It's not actually fitting in with the magenta, but you have got extra babysitting time, haven't you? So you'll have to charge Vicky. Charge her for that.
I'm delighted with my hair and delighted to be away from the kids, and I've got 2 hands free so I can cheer Libby home.
Okay, let's talk about 2 hands free. Sarah, you've been giving them some. You are, I would say, the most diehard fan of Team SCA. You've been to nearly all of the stopovers, bar 3. So give us the top tips for being a top fan of Team SCA.
Well, I'd say absolutely hands-free. Hands-free to cheer, take photos. Don't need any flags to be held. Just cheering and screaming for the girls. The girls have done amazingly well. Really, really super cool. Yeah.
What's your best memory so far, barring this moment here? What is your best memory of Team SCA in the race?
Well, the start, I think, at Alicante, we were all crying. Team Libby were crying, cheering, just going mad. And she was a little thing just going off around the world, almost like on her own, but it was amazing.
Let's talk about little Libby, though. She is one of the girls, I mean, she was tiny anyway when she first joined Team SCA, but she is actually one of the girls on board that has lost one of the most amount of weight during that. It's been quite difficult for her, hasn't it?
She's lost, I think, about 10 kilos over the year. But, yeah, she struggles to keep the weight on. She doesn't snack. So she really struggles. So my job is to feed her up. But unfortunately, it means I have to feed up as well.
Team Libby feeders. Well, we're all gathering here, I believe about 10 minutes away from coming to the dock. Jenny, the excitement is growing. It's going to be an amazing dock-in. Back over to the studio.
Well, so that was on the dock. This is now back out on the water. Team Vestas Wind having tacked for Mark IV and towards the finish line. Can you see, have they actually passed Mark IV yet?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, they are now just pointing at the finish line, and final stretch. And what was very interesting was to hear Francisco saying that they are only now half a mile behind Abu Dhabi. That means that Måfre has gained on Abu Dhabi, and I'm sure that's going to make Ian Walker nervous, because if Måfre managed to pass Abu Dhabi, then it could be that Brunell finishes the place behind, and although that still means that Ian Walker normally should win the Volvo Ocean Race, it also means that then he has to complete and finish the next leg. He cannot retire from the next leg or or break or something like that, because then they will be on equal points if Brunell wins the next one. We're talking about if. I had a sailing coach once when I was young, and he always told me when in sailing you always are very smart in hindsight, and you can say that if Paris was in a bottle, he used to say.
There are always a lot of ifs. I guess the question now,
a lot of ifs, so
we're seeing
but
Vista.
right now Vestas is there's not many ifs around Vestas right now. It looks like a very, very solid second place for Chris Nicholson and the whole team on Team Vestas win, and it's great. I mean, I must say sometimes people have asked me, why did you guys work so hard with the team to build this boat and just to have it back for the last for stopovers, and when I look at this boat right now in front of Lorient, it's I don't know, it's 5 o'clock in the morning or whatever it is, and it's stars all over the sky, the sun's coming up. Here they are, and just about crossing the finish line in second place. It's fantastic, it's worth everything.
And this is why it was done.
Worth absolutely everything.
A huge race to get back into the race, and they have completely achieved it and more. What do you think Chicho's doing to the leeward side there, Canute? Is he actually trimming the jib or just looking forward?
No, I think they're sitting there now. Just they look very relaxed. They're not very stressed. It's actually less wind. You have a point there now. I mean, at the becoming daylight, this is normally the time of the day, when the wind is the lowest. I mean, although the wind we are having now is a gradient wind, so there is a wind. There's a system here creating the wind, but there's less wind now for these guys getting towards the finish line than Team SCA. So if that trend continues, and I think that was the forecast. I spoke to Gonzalo Infante, our race control manager, who's also our race weather guy, and he was also predicting that the wind was going to drop, during the morning, and that's going to be an interesting one, because if it's only half a mile behind between third and fourth at the moment, that is so little that a little drop in wind speed could make a very big difference.
And you said earlier that Måfre was gaining on Abu Dhabi. We heard from Francisco that he thinks it's getting lighter and anything could happen. What's the status of those two boats now? We see Måfre definitely has the inside line as they approach Mark IV.
Yeah, I mean, I can't see them because I'm next to Vestas, so I can see the nav lights, but I cannot see the distance between them really. I can only see that potentially one is inside the other, but no, it's very hard to judge from here when you only see lights and no boats. But it's getting daylight. Probably in 15-20 minutes, we have a lot more light, so we can see more.
We'll be able to see a lot better. It looks to us on the tracker actually like Abu Dhabi has just tacked. They slowed down to about 4-3 knots and then I think have tacked. So the question here being, will they continue to be able to cross Måfre? At this moment, it looks like yes. Don't you think, Zane?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, I think. I can see Abu Dhabi's red light now, so they have tacked yet.
Yeah, I think it's definitely easy cross there. You can see the guys actually sailing well past Mark IV and actually going to a lay line to the finish line. So they're sort of almost taking that mark out of the race course as far as tactics is concerned.
The only major thing now could be a huge right shift for Måfre, and it doesn't seem like it's going to happen. We haven't seen massive shifts out there, at least in the tracks of the boats.
No, that's right. I mean, Vestas still seems to have some good breeze there coming into the finish.
Well, getting a bit lighter for Vestas, 7 knots compared to the 9 knots that Abu Dhabi's doing. So, as Canute said, underneath that headland, maybe a little bit lighter. Vestas, of course, aimed into the finish here. We'll check the distances for you guys now. Vestas is 1.75 nautical miles to the finish line, so just inside of 2. And the blue is back. Hashtag going through Twitter again, as always. Congratulating Team Vestas Wind on their what looks to be a second place.
You can see the difference of footage of Vestas is that they don't have their masthead general up, whereas SCA did, which to me tells the story that the breeze is actually quite consistent, and there's not much chance of lighter airs being in there.
Of any mix-ups there.
No.
It sort of seems like at this point the mix-ups in the race course could be behind these guys. Vestas solidly in second, as you're saying, perhaps between Måfre and Abu Dhabi, although it doesn't look quite like it. But the big question mark right now is between Avi Medica and Team Brunel. As we've said, the tracker of Brunel not working perfectly, but what we're hearing is it is a very, very close battle with those two boats. Possibly Avi Medica even just past Team Brunel, which is, again, for Abu Dhabi is only for the better. The two boats that they're focused on at this point are Team Brunel and Dongfeng race team. Ian Walker said earlier yesterday at this point, he was very happy if the scores stayed as they were with Team SCA winning, Team Vestas being second. Just because essentially these two boats being forward means that's less points on the table between all the leaders. And I think everyone's just happy to see Nico and this team back into it and right onto the podium.
Yeah, I think so. Certainly a question for Nico if he's thinking at all. What if they stayed in the whole race? What would the result be? Because it's a good result for them now with a boat that they've had a lot of teething problem in, and a team that hasn't sailed a lot compared to everyone else. But coming into this leg, probably a lot fresher than everyone else.
Yeah.
For sure. I'll be wondering if he's thinking, what if?
Looking forward to the next leg and even the next race going, I've got it in me. Let's talk a little bit about those teething problems. That's to the audience who's just joined. We showed earlier that they were having keel hydraulic problems earlier this evening, which I think they've solved since then. But they've also had some problems with water ingress in the boat as well.
Yeah, it sounds like it. I mean, they're quite technical boats with a lot of electronics and a lot of systems in the boat, and any sort of water in those electronics, for sure, they don't mix very well. These guys, you've got to spend a lot of time sailing and on the water to find these little problems to make the boat waterproof and watertight, which sounds like Vestas didn't have a lot of time to do. So to get a second is a great result.
It's a huge achievement, yeah. It said both their stern water ballast and I think their forward water ballast were having problems at points. And actually we know with Avi Medica they had some issues with their stern water ballast leaking earlier as well. But just beautiful to see the blue boat back. A little bit behind the journey here, they of course had their crash back in November. Then since then, actually, we have the man who was able to document that scary night for us on the line right now. Brian Carlin, you're joined by me, Jenny, and Zane here in Race Control, and I think we still have Knut on the line as well. We were just talking back to what a monumental achievement it's been for your team to be back in this race. Tell us just briefly about the last 6 months from the night of the crash to actually being able to be in the position to be on the podium now.
Yeah, I mean, obviously we hit that reef in the end of November, and since then it's been a race to get back in the race. And while a lot of people thought it wouldn't happen, and a lot of people thought we'd never be, it looks like we're about to 6 months of building a new hull and putting back together the old boat and putting back together not just a boat but a team together. I think Chris Nicholson's about to sail across the line in second place on leg 8 of the Volvo Ocean Race, and a huge proud moment for everybody on this team. It's going to be a special moment if we can get across in second.
It probably wasn't an easy leg to get back into offshore racing, doing 35 knots and 4-meter waves. How did you fare, and how did the rest of the team fare, just going right into those brutal conditions?
Yeah, I'm going to get an office job after this particular leg. Never again. It was just horrendous. 35 knots, massive swell, 4.5 meters. And then to make matters worse, the boat was leaking from the stern and the bow, and of course, as one of the only other jobs as OBR is to bail water. So I did very little filming, very little taking photographs, and a lot of time on my hands and knees with hydraulic fluid all over the place to add to insult to injury, so you couldn't even stand. I think I described it as trying to sail a bar of soap. And that's exactly what it was. It was just, it was horrendous.
You wrote us a hysterical blog that pretty much said that you thought you were trying to get back into the rhythm and all of a sudden there was zero rhythm. Did it feel like that the whole time, or was it just brutal right in the middle of the bay?
I felt so out of my comfort zone from the minute we left right till this moment now. It's not even funny. It just goes to show 6 months of being away from the race does a lot to you. But thankfully the rest of the guys were back on form and we're sailing.
So let's talk as well about the dynamic between your skipper and your new navigator, Tom Addis. You must have spent a bit of time downstairs while trying to do your media duties, but how do the two of them get along?
Yeah, incredible. I think Tom has proven himself already. Not that he had to before, his credentials said enough about him, but Nick and himself get on very well. Obviously the two of them are very chilled out, and I think Tom's attitude, he's so solid and doesn't flinch at anything, so it really is it's pretty cool actually to have a guy like that, such a steady head on him, and I think it complements Nico because he's a very similar type of guy. It's been working out exceptionally well.
Okay, Brian, I pulled up your blog from yesterday. I'm going to quote this one sentence to you. It's been heinous. I've banged my head so many times I think I've got brain damage. How are you feeling now?
Still brain damaged, but ready for a beer.
Excellent. Well, thanks so much. Huge congratulations to you, to your team, and just wonderful achievement to get the boat back in the water and then to be aimed for the finish line in second place. I won't jinx it for you, but hopefully we'll talk to you after you cross the finish line.
Thanks to everybody from Team Vestas Wind.
Thanks, Ryan. Quite a funny attitude there. The blog that he sent yesterday, just amazing. As he said, the hydraulic well, meaning he was slipping in soap all over. He pretty much was like, I thought I'd come back on and crush this job, and all I'm doing is bailing, trying not to be sick, banging my head, and he's quite funny and essentially was having a good time even while not having a good time.
He's obviously feeling a lot better if he's thinking about having a beer. Can't all be that bad. He'll be back.
He'll be back. No office job for Brian, you think?
No, I don't think so. Not after you do this race.
We'll have to let him know that once he's back on the line. So here we go, Vestas now within 1.5 miles to the finish. And as Knut has said, you don't think there's any possibility, well, we'll never say never, but how close are they to the finish line here, Knut? Unfortunately, I don't think Knut is hearing us at this moment.
I can hear you.
Perfect. I was just saying, how close are they now? Because it sounds like they're starting to have the...
Oh, no, they're very close. They're, what can I say, 5-6 boat lengths, 7-6 boat lengths for the finish line. So it's getting a bit lighter, definitely. So we like that. It makes it more exciting. There's some guys out with a little catamaran here. Is it a catamaran or is it? No, it's a Mokka 60.
5 or 6 boat lengths for these guys. Knut, we're hearing that behind them there is quite a battle now between Team Brunell and Abu Dhabi. Essentially, Abu Dhabi has gotten inside around the island and possibly has made a pass here. Not quite sure, but we'll bring Vestas across the line here and then maybe have you, well, at least we'll go to Tracker and check in if we can, but otherwise we might send you back out there to check in on those guys as well.
I think we're gonna, as soon as we get these guys across the line, we'll head back out to follow that battle. That's gonna be super exciting. Could be a race-deciding moves coming. So one of the French Open 60 sailors, Safran, is here with his sails up to meet Vestas. That's nice gesture. So yeah, we're getting here. We have about four and a half boat lengths now. I was a bit early with my 5-6 boat lengths. A bit hard to judge in the night. But they're bearing away now for the finish line. They overlaid a bit, went a little bit too far. You can see the sail, the jib on Vestas looks like a brand new nice jib. There's nothing nicer than new sails, you know, that's the Christmas gift you want.
Do you think, I mean, obviously it must be a help for them to have new sails, but in the breeze, in 30, 35 knots that they had out there in the bay, was it that big of a help?
No, I mean, when you have that kind of those kind of conditions, it's not mattering that much. It still matters. It always matters to have a good sail, but it matters less in those conditions.
Yeah.
So yeah, now we are about 1.5 boat lengths left from the line. We're just coming down to round this mark.
You can see the whole team almost there on the high side. We see the finish line in sight.
All of them staring at the mark. And we have Nikolai is going to jump on that mark. And they're coming up. Crossing there. And Team Vestas Wind is in second place in leg 8. Congratulations to the guys.
A huge comeback, a huge achievement for this team, Team Vestas Wind, from being on the reef in November to being back in the race with a fully repaired boat to get second place in leg 8.
Hold on, guys!
Well done, Nico. Woo!
Oh, happy faces. That's some really happy faces.
Those are some good congratulations, hugs, celebrations there on board Team Vestas Wind. We said it's been a relief for Team SCA and a huge achievement, but what an accomplishment here for Nico and his team from the depths of despair in November to essentially, this must feel like almost being on top of the world just to be able to get back in and get onto the podium like this.
Absolutely.
Just in front of Nico there, Tom Addis, the new navigator on board, in the hat. There's another new sailor on board as well there, Simeon Tienpont, just to the right in screen. He's replaced the bowman, Tom Johnson, who had to leave and go join another team. Simeon is no stranger to the Volvo Ocean Race either. I think they've both fit in very well from what we hear off the boat.
Start slowing down, please.
Hold on, Nico! Hold on, Nico! That's right.
Still getting all kinds of congratulation tweets online. Keep sending them, you guys, whoever's watching online, send them our way. We will try to show as much as we can on the screen, but it's wonderful for the sailors to hear your support. And yeah, after being in the shed for 6 months, it is amazing to see Team Vestas Wind come second. It sounds like behind Team Vestas Wind, we will still have Abu Dhabi Ocean Racing finishing third. At least at this current moment, they're in position to be third. And then behind them, Måfre, a team you're quite familiar with, in fourth place. You sailed with many of the Spaniards on board Måfre in Telefonica in the last race. Do you think they probably won't be happy with fourth? They'd like the podium.
Yeah, always a podium. They've very much got a mindset that winning is almost everything. Yeah, they love being on a podium and very, very competitive for sure. But I mean, with a fleet like this, fourth place is still a great result, you know, especially a race like this or a leg like this.
Well, always at the podium, the top of the podium was the female Sam Davies. We have Joe Picard on the dock with, I believe, the mother, Jenny Davies, the mother of Sam Davies. Down to Joe. We are hoping to hear from Joe Picard and Jenny Davies, but I'm not quite sure if we have them on the dock anymore. You can see the dock there in Lorient. Plenty of people for 5 in the morning.
If you can hear me there in the studio. Yeah, hey Jenny, I'm sorry, we were mid-conversation. I am joined now with Jenny, who is Sam Davies' mum. So Jenny, how proud are you right now, stood on the dock after this win?
Incredibly. They really have worked hard for this, and I'm so proud. It's, yeah, amazing.
So how does it compare to her solo successes?
Well, obviously it's very, very different because this time there are 12 of them involved, and the solo ones, it's just her, and when she comes back from the solo one, you think, oh my God, you know, she's done all this on her own. But it's it's incredible. The whole thing, each time is the same, really. That's it.
I mean, Sam has been very open.
Sorry, guys, we're actually going to leave them there on the dock. We've got Abu Dhabi Ocean Racing. Knut, how close is Abu Dhabi to the finish line here?
They're about 2.5 boat lengths from the finish line. And I tell you, this we are looking at the most likely winner of the Volvo Ocean Race 2014-15. So this is a big moment because Abu Dhabi clearly has no problems beating Måfre. And Måfre looks very clear to be the next boat. When we still have to see that Måfre crosses the finish line, obviously. But Abu Dhabi is also sailing with their big code zero, so they have the maximum sail up. And Ian Walker knows that this could be the moment where he actually sees the whole victory for the race. There's still some numbers to be crunched, and there's still obviously some more boats to be finishing. But if he now beats Brunell or Dongfeng Racing with 2 places, it's almost impossible for them to beat him. So then he has all the points he needs. And there, Abu Dhabi Ocean Racing is crossing in 3rd place. You can see Ian was happy, and the sailors are really celebrating. That's some very happy 3rd place finishers. I can tell you they are celebrating more than just that. This is the race win.
This is a huge moment for Abu Dhabi Ocean Racing. A huge achievement, as Knut has just said. This is not just the podium finish for leg 8. This is basically the summation, the wrap-up of possibly being able to lift that trophy in Gothenburg. Volvo Ocean Race trophy, and you can see a huge celebration there. Big sighs of relief from Ian Walker, I'm sure, who is one of the most stressed out, intense skippers in this race. Now he's going to be breathing a huge sigh of relief for this leg, for finishing 3rd, and for the overall, for getting just enough points behind them to feel comfortable going forward.
Yeah, it's great. Fantastic result for the team. Seeing Des is filling up the code zero. I'm sure they know exactly where Måfre is, and he would know exactly where the points lie now. And right there, he's won the race overall.
And then, as we say, it's always just back to work. Right after the finish, back to work, as always. Get everything ready to go to get to the dock before really being able to actually celebrate this.
Yeah. Yeah, very professional team. I mean, your mind's on the job at hand.
In fact, it looks like they're going to have to tack here, so they're asking the red boats to go back some so they can tack. As Sam said, lots of fishing nets and shallow places there in Lorient, so they do have to be careful, even after having crossed the finish line.
Yeah.
What does this mean, though, for the team? Let's talk about that. I mean, if they are able to look at the scoreboard after this, the final leg is just, it's not quite a victory lap, but it is something that needs to be ticked off, get to Gothenburg, keep the boat in one piece.
Yeah, that's exactly what they'll be doing. They'll still be going for a good result, I'm sure. They'll probably love to be the winning boat going into Gothenburg, just to stamp their authority. But they don't have to take the risks or push the boat too hard. I mean, if it's a winning leg, they'll be quite conservative, I'm sure.
But it is what it is, especially if Måfre ends up in between them and Brunell and Dongfeng. Knut, you're there with Måfre at the current moment. It looks like they're getting the finish line, no problem, correct?
Yeah, it looks absolutely like Måfre is going to make this quite easy. They're not far away. I mean, they literally have about 1.5 minutes to the finish line, 1 minute to the finish line. So this was close. This was as close as it was. But Abu Dhabi had the margins on their side there, and Ian Walker have obviously sailed a very, very tactical leg. There was some journalists that asked me on the dock, is it that's why the girls and Vestas got away, because the rest was just sailing tactical? And I said absolutely not, because the only one that could sail tactical was actually Ian Walker and Abu Dhabi. Everybody else had everything to win and not much to lose. And so, I mean, I'm sure that Dongfeng and Brunell and Alvimedic and Måfre would be very, very happy to swap positions with Team SCA right now. They would have done anything to do that. So, now here comes Måfre. Måfre also has the big Cod Zero up. And they are getting very close to the line. Have about 1.5 boat lengths left to crossing the finish line. Another podium position finishing for Måfre. Also another podium for Xabi Fernandez. He's had a good skipper career this race.
It's not.
And there, Måfre is just lumping up across the line and crossing the finish line there. And Måfre from Spain in 3rd place on leg 8.
There we go. Måfre across in 4th place. But it is actually going to make the points just that much closer for them on the podium to get, as Knut was just saying, to be within striking distance of the podium, the final legs. Dongfeng race team, if they finish where they are now, and Måfre finishes here in 4th, it'll be very tight coming up. What do you think this means for Xabi?
Yeah, they'd be very happy with this, I would have hoped. I'd like to see him skipper the boat in the next race. I mean, he's obviously got the gift for it. He's a great guy, you know, he's a great leader and absolutely fantastic guy to sail with, and I'm sure these guys will follow him anywhere.
And here he's got Fonseca actually driving into the finish line. He's got him driving on the start lines as well when he's on board. He's a bit more of like a crew boss, crew manager type as a skipper as well, right? He lets his best helms drive.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah. I mean, he's definitely the sort of guy who knows everyone's strengths and weaknesses and you know, is just all about doing what's best for the team.
Well, there we go, Måfre with a good finish, a solid 4th place in leg 8. The leg that had them sailing mostly along the Spanish coast. Now we've got Team SCA headed towards the dock, towards a huge hero's welcome. A victorious finish in leg 8. And there is plenty of magenta, a sea of magenta, as Joe was saying earlier. Huge support there on the dock by their teams, their family, their fans. And the girl with the blue hair.
It's funny, it always seems a lot quicker on the boat to get from the finish line to the dock rather than waiting to see the boats. Waiting on the dock to see the boats come in seems like an age.
You hear that they've finished out there and you're just like, when will I actually be able to give my cheers? But these are some amazing cheers. It is only just turned 5 in the morning in Lorient and here as well in Alicante. Hopefully the sun will be coming out soon. It's starting to get a bit lighter though, as you can see some of the girls on board. Huge cheers and huge, huge smiles.
Certainly looks like it's starting to set in for a few of them now.
Be hard not to with this crowd, wouldn't it?
That's a great welcome, for sure.
There we go, dock lines being thrown. This is always the interesting moment. It's whether whether anyone jumps off instantly or they all stay on board for a bit longer, do their hugs and their interviews from on board.
I think you stay on board for a little bit because otherwise you'll get swamped. And there's probably not too much space on the dock to actually jump onto.
Yeah, it's looking quite crowded at this moment.
Certainly after a long leg as well, you know, this is the most amount of people you would see after 2 or 3 weeks. It can be a bit daunting. Not so much this leg because it's a shorter one, but...
Seeing the same 11 faces and now you're seeing hundreds more.
Yeah.
Huge smiles all around there though. It's great to see Sam Davies especially about to grab her son here. He probably isn't even aware of the meaning of this moment for his mom. Oh, he looks quite tired. I think he likes his perch, actually. There's Elodie Matreau, the older of the Matreau sisters, the Swiss sisters we were talking about earlier. And she's off, actually. Elodie, first one into the crowd. Justine Matreau, the younger sister, just did quite well in the mini transat last year before joining Team SCA, I think finishing 4th. Big bouquet of flowers there. And Annie Lush, Olympic sailor and trimmer extraordinaire on board Team SCA. We actually had her in your seat for the last arrivals. At the end of the show, she had to hop off to a taxi to go and greet the girls in Lisbon.
I wonder when we're going to see the magenta jumpers and the coaches.
Yeah. Can't see anything in this crowd. Sam got her bouquet of flowers, still trying to get her son.
Mum just wants a hug.
Yeah. Oh, you understandably be tired. Sally Barco just there in the front. She's the tactician for their inshore and leg starts. Annie here, Libby, navigator, did a great job this leg, especially with the inshore option on the very first night, giving them the lead, being able to defend from there. And here we go, we've got Joe and Sam lined up. We'll try to listen into this interview.
Okay, so welcome to the dock in a moment in history that women around the world, however old they are, I might cry. Women around the world, no matter how old they are never going to forget this moment. It really is testament to never giving up and just keep on fighting, and you did, but you haven't just kept on fighting, you dominated that leg. I've even worn a Team SCA hat for you. Sam, how proud are you of the girls right now?
Really not, and well, it's taken a long time to get this far, and we've had a big mountain to climb, but finally we've made it. And well, our objective was to get a podium in one of the legs, and well, this is quite a good style podium, I reckon.
And would you be able to do that in French as well, please?
Oui, on est super contents. Ça fait longtemps qu'on travaille pour ça. C'est une énorme montagne qu'on a escaladé d'arriver jusque là, et on est super contente, super heureuse, et on avait dit qu'on va essayer de faire un podium sur une étape pendant le Volvo Ocean Race. Ça c'est pas mal comme style de podium.
So I could see it in all of your eyes when you left the dock in Lisbon. You were on a mission this leg. This is your home leg. You come back to Lorient, you and Juju. Do you think, though, that Team Vestas Wind being back in the race has given you that extra spur on to make sure that you got ahead of those boys?
I don't think that Vestas made that much difference. I think it's just us getting to a stage where we've just progressed enough to stay with the guys and get ahead of them and just hold that lead, which is what we did, and it was pretty tough in the Bay of Biscay. And coming home's great. There's me, Juju, and Liz as well, who lives here. Il y a moi, Justine, Maître et Liz Wardley qui habitent ici, donc on est super contents d'être à la maison.
Merci. So last question, you mentioned the Bay of Biscay. It wasn't kind. It really did live up to his expectations. How has it been on board with 35 knots and 4-metre waves?
I love it, but I'm English. I think the English people like strong winds. It was pretty tough. For sure, we wanted to hold our lead, but we didn't want to break anything either, so we sailed neatly and properly. The girls were amazing. We had a couple who probably really didn't want to be there, who were quite sick, but they just kept working, kept sailing, and just pulled through. So it was great. I think we sailed the boat really well in that strong stuff. I think we pulled away from Vestas a little bit then.
And would you be able to translate into French?
Le golfe de Gascogne était assez sauvage avec nous. On a eu 35 nœuds, une mer énorme, très casse-bateau. Face au vent, on était au près, c'était méga dur, mais en plus, on avait la tête de la flotte à conserver. Mais on a navigué super safe et propre, 100% tout le temps. Il y avait 2-3 filles qui étaient pas malades un peu, mais elles continuaient à naviguer quand même, continuaient à travailler. Et on a fait ça super bien.
One last question. Have you got any words for your fans all the way around the world?
And just a big thank you to the following, for all your support, everyone who's sending us messages. And I think all our fans know how much this means to us and how much work we have put in to get this far and to get here. And not just us, the girls on the boat, but the whole team, SCA, the shore team, who do an amazing job. And there's a lot of people that help us get here. Un grand merci à tous les fans qui nous suivent pour tous les messages. Je pense que tout le monde qui nous suit sait que on a travaillé énormément d'arriver jusqu'à là. Pas que les filles sur le bateau, mais aussi toute l'équipe autour de nous, l'équipe technique et tout Team SCA qui fait tout pour qu'on arrive jusqu'à là. Donc un énorme merci.
A huge congratulations. Thank you very much to Sam Davies, skipper of Team SCA, and a huge congratulations. You are the winners of Leg 8 of the Volvo Ocean Race. Congratulations.
So wonderful to hear from Sam. We just had Brunell crossing the finish line. As you could see, we didn't want to interrupt Sam's interview there. And now we've got Alvi Medica. You can just see the silhouette of Team Alvi Medica, the American-Turkish boat, very close to the finish line at this moment. So it sounds like they've lost out that tight duel with Team Brunel. But here will be Alvi Medica crossing in 6th place on leg 8. And beautiful, we're just starting to get a little bit of sun there. You can see clouds now, which we couldn't see earlier.
And a bit less breeze, all the boats coming in their masthead Genoa, but yeah.
It would have been a tight battle, an interesting battle. But I think maybe not quite as close as we thought here with Alvi Medica this far behind Brunel. It was hard for us to see because Brunel's tracker was acting up just a little bit, but here we go. Alvi Medica coming in towards the finish line. Knut, how close are they here?
Well, they're about one boat left to the finish line, and yeah, that was close. I was just with Sean, our video photographer, and he told us that to get all these boats across the line took us 3 days if you go 15 years ago. Now we do it in an hour. Oh, they're just stopping up, and there Alvi Medica is crossing the finish line. I have to get it right now in 6th place. Because I managed to call Måfre in 3rd place, but they were in 4th. And now we're heading back out. I can see Dongfeng race team as well. It's quite interesting. All the boats are kind of keeping their mainsails up and parading in towards Lorient. You can see all the 5 boats lined up here now with exactly the same distance between them. So
it's fair enough. There's a good fan base ashore, and it's been quite an exciting moment for everyone. So good for them to keep their mainsails up, and understandable for your confusion earlier. But here we go, Alvi Medica finishing 6th. Not quite the excitement on board with that team, just right into the work of furling up their sails. The masthead code 0 a little bit easier because it's a furl and then a drop. Alberto Bolzon, excuse me, the Italian on board, driving across the line. They do quite like Måfre. They let him do the helming on the leg starts. Some of the leg starts in import races, and then the finish lines here with Charlie Enright in a bit more of a tactical role at that moment. Albi being one of their better helmsmen, their best helmsmen. Then Will Oxley in the back, navigator with the tablet there. What are your thoughts about actually having the roles change on board with the skipper not helming, as we were talking about with Zabi?
Like I said, especially with one design fleet, you got to play your strengths for sure. You know, if one person's the best helmsman on the boat, then he should do that job. Same with the trimmers. You know, if one person's a good upwind trimmer, he's doing that job until the finish.
And you can see just how close it is here, Abu Dhabi to Brunell, just in front of them. Will Oxley, kind of the voice of experience on this boat, otherwise quite a young team. What are your thoughts? You were 28 when you sailed in the Volvo Ocean Race. Charlie just at 30, skippering without even having done a Volvo. How hard do you think that could be for him to have to take on this project at that age?
Yeah, very hard. I think the learning curve would have to be massive for him. I mean, the learning curve is big for everyone, but for someone to take that on would be huge. But a great opportunity for him, and I think he's done really well. Even to get onto the start line is a big step. You know, this team should be congratulated for what they've done.
And they, of course, they are the youngest team in learning the most. They've also been able to podium 3 times, leg 3, leg 5, and leg 7. So maybe not podiuming here, but hopefully they'll be looking to do that in the final leg, continue their every other achievement of podiums.
Yeah, and it's all experience. If Charlie comes back, or the guys come back and do the race again, for sure they'll be up there for one of the teams to beat. It's also just experience on the boat that helps a lot.
It helps a lot, and then at the same point in time, we've got Team Brunel, tons of experience. We have Bauer, I think 7th lap around the world. Andrew Cape on his 6th. You know Capey quite well, having sailed with him on Telefonica. But this it hasn't been his race necessarily. They've had moments of brilliance, and then they've had some unfortunately disappointing results, like this 5th place for them. Do you have any thoughts as to what might be going on there?
It's possibly not one big problem, just a lot of small problems. One design like this is all about sort of like the 1%ers. If all those 1%ers add up, that's 10%. If you're 10% slower than another boat, or 10% if that boat's 10% better than you, it makes a big difference. So it could just be a lot of little things maybe. You know, it's hard to say from outside looking in, but it doesn't take a lot to lose a lot, but it takes a lot to win a lot.
To win a lot.
Yeah.
That's a very good way of putting it. Yeah. And it's good to see Team SCA, as we've said, always been very good in the import races. They've had the most time essentially in the boats. So in a one design class, in a fleet where they're all sailing the same boats all the time, they've got the same sails, they're provided equipment. Time on the water does matter, but for the girls, the experience offshore wasn't quite there. The sort of experience that we're talking about with Bauer and KP, it didn't quite exist. And so this was sort of the leg where they actually had that experience. They had that one design 10% or 1% just from all the time they've spent in these exact boats.
Yeah. So being in an inshore capacity or inshore racing, the girls have that experience, and everyone is matched inshore. All the boats are the same. All the crews have done inshore racing. Obviously, the girls just miss that experience offshore, and just those situations you see yourself in offshore that not necessarily everyone on the boat is seeing, like the big Southern Ocean swells, the big rain squalls, the big bullets of wind that come up around the corners of coast and stuff like that. You just got to have that experience and to know how to manage that and how to deal with it.
Be able to deal with it for the next
at the time.
Or even the next leg. Let's take a look now with only one team left, Dongfeng race team left to cross the finish line. We now have provisional standings after leg 8. As we were saying, with Abu Dhabi Ocean Racing finishing where they did here with a 3rd place, they've basically given themselves an insurmountable lead. 8 points, going to be quite difficult to overtake them. Team Brunel in 2nd, now with just a 2-point lead over Dongfeng race team, so still very important in the next leg, and then 2 points from Dongfeng to 4th place Måfre. 2 again towards Helvetica, so very tight from 2nd to 5th. Team SCA having 1 gives them a solid lead over Team Vestas Wind, who just able to get 2nd, getting back into the race. Good to see a close scoreboard, not the ties that we had after the last leg, but still 2 points between all the teams, all the teams below Abu Dhabi, means it'll be a really intense leg 9.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, these are ultra competitive teams. You know, there's still going to be a big battle for the podium places for sure, second or third. I mean, first place is wrapped up, but you know, you still want to be the second or third.
And it's kind of it's not quite enough of a covering game. It's not like second place is covering third and third's covering fourth, because fourth actually still is within 4 points to second. So you're thinking it's maybe an option of doing what you can to be in the lead and hope everything plays out behind you as like for any of those teams.
I think coming into this next leg, it ought to be a play for. You know, you just have to take risks and absolutely go for it. Don't hold back.
Yeah. Well, on this leg, they weren't holding back either. The Bay of Biscay delivered as much as it could to the sailors with 35 knots and 4-meter waves. But we have some pretties of what it was like throughout the whole race on the ocean. Beautiful, beautiful shots there. It sounds like we now have onboard reporter of Team Brunell, Stefan Koppers, on the line. Stefan, can you hear us? Oh, we got Bauer. Bauer, I've got Zane Gills here in race control. It's Jenny. Congratulations on getting across the line for what was a very difficult leg 8. You guys have gotten quite a battering out there, all of the teams.
Yeah, of course, becoming safe for some of the also. First of all, congratulations to Abu Dhabi. They showed the red jobs good on them. We just have accepted, of course, congratulations to the girls this moment in the marvelous race. And I think a big compliment to the guys.
Unfortunately, I'm really struggling to hear Bauer, so I think we will leave them. Hope to speak to him soon. But we've got Dongfeng race team here approaching the finish line. Knut, you're with Dongfeng. It's going to be a disappointing last place finish, of course, for Charles, who wanted to lead into his home country, into France. But how far is it to that finish line for them now?
It's about 4 minutes, I would say, something like that. Quite a lot of boats following him. He must have a few friends out there. I think some of his family is out in the reef there next to us. But, you know, yeah, it's clearly disappointing for him. I mean, this is coming home, you know, and going all the way around the world to come home and be in last place. It's not what he wanted. I mean, I know they're so competitive. The guys on board Dongfeng race team, and they've been, really sort of the big guns in the race. They have developed into where Abu Dhabi's closest rival. Still that mast broke, and that sort of was a big setback. But obviously then they came hard back and won that leg to Newport, which was an amazing feat, to do that. And then they struggled on the last leg, and on this leg hasn't gone their way really. They have really, they're really not been sort of their normal performance. I would say this leg they have been struggling a bit, but they can still make a fantastic last leg, and they are clearly in the fight for the podium. I just saw a press release going out from the team earlier last night, going that the fight is on. That we have to let them accept that Abu Dhabi has seized the victory for the race overall, but the fight to be on the podium now is crazy. I mean, it's so close between all the boats, and this is going to boil down to the last leg and maybe even to import races.
Yeah, exactly. Well, let's hope so at least. For this team, it is a luck game, and they have a really funny thoughts about luck. Kevin Escoffier kind of doesn't believe in it, but it does seem like they've been quite unlucky throughout the race. What are your thoughts on that? Why has it all often gone wrong for this team, even if it maybe wasn't their fault?
Well, I'm not so sure if they have been more. I think one thing they have been a lot more transparent than others. They have been telling the truth. They have been sharing everything more than anyone, and I think they have been good role models for how we want the race to be and how we want to follow sailing. And we want to hear everything. We want to know when things go wrong, when they go well, when people are not so happy, when they're happy. I mean, so I think they have been very, very good at sharing all the time when something happened on the boat or when they had a problem. And I think whether they've had more problems than others, I don't really know. I don't think so. I mean, the rig is obviously unique, and that was the only, thank God, only once in the race. There's still a leg left, so and that's a big one, because then that really sets them back a lot of points.
Yeah, the rig, and then I'm thinking almost back to leg one where they hit something with their rudder and had to replace their rudder, losing the lead in that leg in a couple of hours, which essentially was the lead at the end of it all, I think. And also, of course, their stanchion later on, their stanchion's blowing when they lost the. They have had a lot of problems that it seems like haven't totally, the mass being the huge problem, but haven't totally affected the other teams.
I think that apart from the rig, I don't think they've had more things than any other team or anything like that. I think they've just been very transparent about it. They've told everyone about it, and everyone have their share, of these things during a race like this. But I think they've sailed exceptionally well. I mean, in general, they have sailed always very, very well and been very strong. They're also getting tired. I mean, it's. I think Mark Turner said it. Their team, the CEO of the whole campaign, said it in Lisbon that if you ask them now, if you were fighting for podium coming into the last leg, if you asked them before the race started, they probably would have said, that's great, because we're doing this project with a lot of new Chinese sailors. It's a huge challenge. But as they have progressed into becoming one of the race leaders for most of these 8 months, obviously now they're not happy with the position they're in. They would have liked to fight for the winning, for the top of the podium, and rather than fighting to be on the podium. And well, that's hindsight for you. But I think they've done a fantastic race so far. I mean, they've really been a very, very impressive team, and I think everyone who followed the World Ocean Race have been very impressed by this slot.
Yeah.
And there they crossed the finish line. So now all 7 boats have crossed the finish line, and that's a long time since we had 7 boats crossing the finish line. We have to go back to Cape Town.
That is a very valid point. Dongfeng race team with a disappointed 7th, but at least for us, for the Volvo Ocean Race, all 7 teams across safely. And as you said, Charles Caudrelier at the beginning of this race, completely not expecting even to be close to the podium with his new team and a Chinese team. But now they've been fighting for the lead for so many legs. It's going to be hard for them to swallow the fact that Abu Dhabi has been able to put that point spread on the board. They're still on the podium, though, just 2 points behind Team Brunel. So Dongfeng race team finishing 7th here, but 3rd overall currently. But you can tell, Zane, no celebrations there on board, just right into actually furling.
Yeah, it's a pretty solemn feeling, I'd say. I remember us being in a very similar position. Actually, it was into the leg into Lorient as well. Bit of history there, maybe. But yeah, I know what the feeling is like on the boat for sure. But I mean, if it's any consolation, I'd rather win the race and then lose it rather than not win it at all.
Yeah, and I guess right now we're only 2 hours, maybe an hour off. I was just looking back at the clock that we were an hour and a half, I think 2 hours from the girls finishing. So it was a very close, very tight finish, but tough to be seventh. It's a beautiful sunrise there, though. Dongfeng raised team one of the 2 red boats, Måfre the other red boat, which I think is a good luck color. Speaking of luck, but a good luck color for China. Charles there talking to his support crew. And not quite as cloudy as it looked like it was earlier. When we spoke with Nico last night, it was looking horrendous in that moment.
Yeah, quite drizzly, dismal.
6 p.m. This is just more normal land breeze clouds. And the breeze has died tremendously, as you said, the past couple boats all in the masthead 0, but it only looks, well, that probably is about 8 knots max compared to the 13 knots we know they had earlier. I do really feel for Dongfeng here. I think this is going to be a tough leg mentally, just knowing that so much of the team are French and that they did actually have that local knowledge, the ability to, if we had gone into shore as one of the race course's possibilities was, then maybe they could have done a little bit more to get back into it. As it was just a tight fight in the Bay of Biscay, but a fight that they lost out on.
Yeah, and a short race like this, a lot of it is all about the start. You get a good start, you can sort of position your boat a bit better than the guy behind you. And you just really go from there.
What do you think you do as a skipper here, as Charles, to try to get, after this, after you get to shore, after you deal with getting to shore and everything else, how do you get the team back into it for the next leg?
Well, it's the last leg of the next leg, and obviously they want to do it as well as they can and be on the podium. It's just basically motivating the troops to still get as much fight out of them as they can.
I guess as we were just saying, it's going to be a really tight fight too, so.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah. It's going to be a very exciting leg, and I'll be trying to use some of that excitement to stay on the podium.
Pump them up. It's nice to get a boat in sunrise. And it was interesting that we had no real changes of the fleet here. I guess Brunell and Abu Dhabi with that little fight at the end, but we not kept them behind. We'll try to speak soon with Charlie Enright on board Team Abu Dhabi. I don't think we have him quite on the line yet, but he'll be disappointed as well, finishing 6th in a leg that we know he wanted to do well in, having come from Newport across the transatlantic, doing well, to then have Lisbon to Lorient be disappointing. It's not what the young skipper would want. Here we go, here's the dock. You can see Team SCA with the leg winner flag on their first day, as Sam was telling us about earlier. The latest tweet says, who's the big winner tonight in the Volvo Ocean Race? Team SCA and Team Vestas Wind, great white shirt guy, which I think is Manuel. If we can come back to a shot in the studio, we'll get Manuel to give him a wave. There's some tweeting about our excellent duty officer, great white shirt guy, Manuel. He's got a bit of a following this evening, which is fabulous. And he just give him another wave. Oh, okay. Yeah, they're asking for you. This is Manuel. He gives us all the data when we say we need mileage or anything. When he says the tracker's not working, that's all coming from Manuel. I would have him talk into my mic, but that might be a little bit awkward. But anyway, that's a hello to you guys in Twitter world, and of course keep sending your tweets, and we will keep feeding them to the Race Village and to you guys online. We do now have the skipper of Team Abu Dhabi, Charlie Enright, on the phone. Charlie, can you hear us? It's Jenny Tulloch and Zane Gills in Race Control.
Certainly can. What's going on?
Well, I guess not as much for me as for you. You've had quite a tight battle this morning, but it didn't quite go your way. Tell us about it. Unfortunately, we didn't get to see it really because the tracker wasn't working for Brunell, so we just saw your end of the battle.
Yeah, pretty disappointing. After a not so intelligent split from the fleet, kind of coming up the Portuguese coast, we were able to spring offshore and get a bunch of boats back and put ourselves in position to get what could have been the best fourth place ever, just the way the boats were lining up. And, two boats we desperately needed to beat squeezed by us on the outside. Well, I guess the outside relative to Lorient, inside relative to the low pressure system we were sailing around. We could have maybe pushed in a little further to get a little bit more rotation, a little closer to Måfre. But, with the forecast to head and have us not fetch the mark, and, they'd done 2 tacks to say that we would have done that. I don't know if it would have been the case either. So, still kind of processing, a little bit of boat speed here and there could have maybe helped us out of some tight spots, but, is that always the case? So, just trying to reset, reflect, recalibrate, and, that's kind of it for now.
Recharge for Gothenburg essentially as well. What about the conditions here? I mean, you were the team that led around Cape Horn, which was completely unexpected as the youngest team and as a skipper who hasn't done the Volvo Ocean Race. And then here we had battling upwind, 35 knots in the Bay of Biscay. Was it difficult? Was it what you expected out of the notorious bay?
The Bay of Certain Death kind of lived up to its name. Pretty breezy going upwind. Gusts over 40. But I think we did a pretty good job with that bit. Less was kind of more. A couple of the boats that were just ahead of us decided to short tack the northern Spanish coast, and we thought with the expense of that, we could get a jump by splitting offshore with an eventual left shift, which we did. So it was nice to get a couple points back there, albeit temporary. The conditions weren't the greatest, that's for sure. Slugging it out for a couple days. It's funny, we came out of Lisbon in a westerly upwind. We went upwind the coast of Portugal in a northerly upwind, and then northeast upwind all the way to Lorient. So no one likes going upwind, that's for sure. Sometimes it stinks going upwind at 6 knots as much as it does going upwind at 36 knots. But everyone certainly had to do it. So whether it's upwind, downwind, left, right, we all have the same conditions.
All right, well, we can ask the question that we actually haven't asked any of the other teams yet. When you get to shore, what are the things you want to be doing here to recharge, get your body and your mind back into the racing for Saturday, the import race, and then Tuesday's leg start?
Yeah, there's not a lot of time. The boat's in pretty good nick, so we won't really have to spend a lot of time there. Just kind of recharge our own batteries, take it easy. There's not a lot of time to, explore or, do any of that good stuff here. So it's mostly just recharge the batteries, talk a little bit about what went well on this leg and what didn't go so well. But honestly, the racing was so close, you can't really beat yourself up over too much. The results disappointing, but I wouldn't say we sailed particularly poorly. So it's more just moving on than thinking too much about the past.
Well, thanks so much, Charlie, and hope to see you in the dock in France. We'll let you go for now.
What was that?
That was Abu Dhabi, Charlie Enright. Understandably disappointed, I think, after what he said was a close fight until the end. It's a hard one. You come in and it's like, okay, and we've just lost. That's the fight, and sometimes there's a winner and a loser, and you have to be one or the other sometimes.
Yeah, you can't win them all.
You can't win them all.
Unfortunately.
SCA did, though, and you can see the gathering just getting bigger as the sun comes out there in Lorient. Plenty of pink on the dock, as we've said, well, plenty of magenta. We'll try to take a look back at some of the pretty images we've gotten from this leg. We sent a helicopter out over Cape Finisterre and over the Costa de Morte. the morning that they were rounding it. And so we'll just take a little bit of a break looking back at some of those images throughout this leg. You can see the sun is definitely rising there in Lorient. Definitely more light. And we've got Joe Picard on the dock with the commercial director of Abu Dhabi Ocean Racing, Jamie Bogue. To you, Joe.
Hey Jenny, thank you very much. And yes, welcome back onto the dock. And I am indeed joined with Jamie Bogue, the commercial director of Abu Dhabi Ocean Racing. Jamie, big night, big morning, discuss.
Hasn't been a lot of sleep for the shore team over the past 12 hours. We tried to, we all did the sensible thing and went to bed early, and then the tracker went live, and then that was it, nobody slept. Yeah, it's been a pretty anxious 12 hours. It's been a pretty anxious 3 days, to be honest. It's been a pretty anxious 9 months, I guess. But yeah, the guys got another podium, which was just out in the rib seeing them, so there's a lot of elation on board. I think they've done the maths and figured out what it means to everyone. And they're just packing the boat out. It's quite good actually having a little while before the boat comes in. They get that time themselves. We are a team of 25 people, and everybody contributes. But I think when you've been through the war like they have, they need that little moment, and they're having that at the minute. So I'd expect them to be pretty pumped up when they get back to the dock.
So, being pumped up, are we going to see Ian Walker with his signature dance moves, really celebrating, doing cartwheels along the dock for the overall prestigious prize of first position of this edition of the Volvo Ocean Race? Are we going to see that celebration on the dock here in Lorient?
Well, I don't know, I'm trying to get Cafu to fly and see if he can do the keepy uppies at the same time. I think that was his biggest celebration so far. So I think if he can surpass the celebrations that we had in Brazil, I think that'll be what we look for now. I mean, Ian, Ian's an emotional guy. I'm not really sure what to expect when he gets in at the dock. You saw the pictures of him on board over the last few days. He looks pretty beaten up. I think next time we need to get Nivea or someone to sponsor us, I think, to help with some of that. But they'll be relieved, and we've had this. You win the Olympics, you're coaching the Olympics. There's always that moment when you realise you've achieved your goal. You can touch the goal. None of that will take away from Gothenburg. It's our big moment up there. We've got our supporters back home. We've got our backers at the Tourism and Cultural Authority who've supported us through both these projects, and who we all will work together. We're one team, and they're coming to Sweden. I think I've flattened 2 phone batteries over the last 6 hours speaking with everyone there. And back home in Abu Dhabi in the UAE, there's a lot of beaming, smiling faces, which there always are, but they're even bigger.
But I mean, Ian Walker and the team, all of the teams in the Volvo Ocean Race, are incredibly competitive. There is one leg left. Yes, of course, mathematically, Abu Dhabi Ocean Racing overall have won the Volvo Ocean Race as it stands now. But there's one more leg left, and they are competitive people. Are you looking forward? Do you think you'll be gunning for coming into Gothenburg in first position in leg 9?
You know Ian pretty well at this stage, right? I mean, I've known Ian a long time, and if you're having breakfast in the morning, I'm pretty sure he's racing you to butter his toast first. There'll be no sort of holding back, I can assure you. They're competitive guys. They'll want to win, and in some ways the pressure is off now. And the game plan that we've had of podiuming and having the risk button turned down, maybe we might see a little bit more freedom and a bit more carefreeness. And again, maybe he could talk to Cafu about the Brazilians and the way they play football. That's maybe the way we'll sail the next leg. So, it's all guns blazing, and we're so looking forward to having our moments here, and we're so looking forward to the next couple of weeks and being at Gothenburg.
Okay, thank you very much, Jamie Bogue. I'm going to hand back over to you, Jenny, in the studio. We've got Vestas Wind coming in on the dock very soon.
Well, excellent to hear from Jamie Bogue. Thanks so much, Joe. What do you think about the Olympic nature of Ian Walker? I mean, as we know, he's got 2 silver medals. He's got that feisty, competitive spirit. They play a lot of golf, I think, the 2 of them. That obviously has helped with this win. I mean, he's got a great navigator as well, Sci-Fi, and a great team. But is there something to that sort of fleet racing mentality, the Olympic sailing mentality that he's brought to ocean racing?
Yeah, I think so, for sure. I mean, I remember racing against the imports with him last edition of the race, and they were very competitive inshore, and he's a very good one-design sailor. So it's suited perfectly for these types of boats where you have to win the start, have a good start, and even just sort of match racing in the middle of an ocean sort of would benefit him a lot. And he is a very competitive guy too, which helps.
Yeah, he's a very competitive guy. He had this mentality of podium finishing like he does in the Olympic sailing, which we've talked about a lot, but they've actually been able to achieve that, which I think is quite difficult for all the teams. They all will always want to be on the podium all the time.
Yeah, and something like the Olympics where it is quite a lot of races to make up the event, you don't necessarily have to go and try and win them all. You have to consolidate sometimes and try to get the best result that you can just for the overall result at the end of the day, which I think is what Ian has managed very well in this race.
Yeah. And Sci-Fi as well. I mean, a lot of the navigational decisions there are Sci-Fi's decisions as well as Ian Walker's decisions. He's got time with this Volvo. You've raced against him at least. Mm-hmm. What do you think of his navigational strategy? I mean, essentially his strategy as a navigator.
Yeah, I mean, they've obviously put themselves in the right spots at the right time, which, navigation-wise is a very hard skill to do. But there's also a lot of experience to fall back onto throughout the whole boat. You know, Ian's not making all the decisions all the time, I wouldn't have thought. But yeah, the navigating weather, you certainly have to be on top of your game, just to give your skipper the best options.
Actually, that's an interesting point you bring up. He's not making decisions all the time. In fact, they are the only team, I think, that runs a watch system between the two of them, between the skipper and the navigator. They're doing 4 hours on, 4 hours off, like the whole rest of the crew. And so Sci-Fi as well spends time on deck, spends time driving, spends time trimming, and also is doing navigation. And then Ian the same. And they've said that with the short-handed crew, it was sort of the only way that they could figure out how to do it. But it basically means that they might end up having more hands on deck all the time as well.
Yeah, and I think that's probably a benefit too, being on deck, actually seeing what the conditions are and how hard you can push the boat at certain times and what's actually happening outside of the computer and sort of like the weather world. But you know, it is a lot of responsibility for one person to make all the decisions and all the tactics and all the navigation and all the weather. So it's quite good to share it out throughout the crew, I think.
Yeah.
Share the load a bit, share the work.
And share the load of the driving and the trimming when it's super windy in conditions like this. So here we go. Dock views. SCA still not quite seeing Vestas around the corner yet, but the sun is coming up, as we've said, 6 o'clock exactly right now, European time, and that was when we were expecting sunrise. We hear Vestas is about 3 minutes away from the dock. It looks like the women on board Team SCA have maybe walked away from their boat. Although perhaps not, actually. There's still quite a crowd looking down at the boat, so maybe they're all still there huddled in with their family and their team and their coaches, who we have yet to see on board. It's actually not very much wind in the dock there at all. In fact, looks glassy. We'll take a look back at some of the footage throughout the race that the onboard reporters have captured on their GoPros. Beautiful GoPro shots. Kind of the easiest camera sometimes for them to actually be able to get the footage when it is super wet, super gnarly out there, or even just going under the water and into the waves. But here, not super wet or super gnarly, as we were just saying. There's almost no wind there on the dock in Lorient. It's lucky that the fleet actually made it through before the breeze, as it was dying, we saw.
Yeah.
Hasn't completely shut off, but it's good we've got them across the finish line. And here's Dongfeng Racing team tweeting, strange feeling out here, taking the sail down. The only other time they've had this horrible feeling was when they lost their mast in the Southern Ocean leg, weren't able to complete that leg. But as we said with Knut earlier, it's a team that wasn't expecting to be on the podium necessarily. This edition of the race, quite new team with this idea of having Chinese sailors rotating through. And Charles Cadralier, well, you would know, you raced against him in the last race. He was on board Groupama, and he was a watch captain on board Groupama.
Yeah.
Good sailor.
Yeah, absolutely. These French guys are very good at short-handed sailing and very good at offshore sailing as well. Charles is, he's a very competitive guy. Obviously quite good at leading a team and getting the best out of everyone. I would hope at the end of the race he could sit down and not be disappointed at all.
Yeah, exactly.
Because they've had a great result from what they started with.
Was he much of a strong personality in the last race? Because he seemed a bit like a dark horse skipper, with Frank Kamas being the skipper of Groupama, Charles being named to be the skipper of Dongfeng race team, at least in the sailing world, was maybe a name that we didn't know. And then Pascal Bidegori, the navigator of Dongfeng race team, actually also a skipper of many offshore challenges. As you said, they're all solo sailors though, so their names well known in the French world, but he was the watch captain on board, so he obviously had a big role in the win of Groupama.
Yeah, big role for sure, but yeah, like you said, a bit of a dark horse, but sort of a quiet guy, a quiet achiever, definitely.
Yeah. He seems like he's been able to be a good leader though on board, especially with this rotation, and he said from the beginning they'll keep the crew rotation through the race. They've done a good job bringing the Chinese sailors into offshore racing, giving them all experience there. And I think it's great as well. They've got Martin Stromberg on board. He's the pitman. He's a Swedish sailor, and he's really taken a kind of uncle, maybe cousin-like approach to the Chinese sailors. He doesn't really know French either. I think they try to use English as the main language on board the team, but he's definitely got a little bit of a big brother approach to the young guys. They're also under 30s, the Chinese sailors usually, so they're very young to the experience. Here we go, Team Vestas Wind. And you can see just behind Vestas, Team Brunell, Måfre, and Dongfeng's boats as well. But a great little Vestas supporter there, flying the Vestas flag.
It's interesting what you said about Dongfeng rotating the crew, whereas it looked like Ian Walker had the policy of not rotating crew, trying to keep the same guys. So there's two different schools of thought there. Which one's right and wrong? There's no real answer there, but it's just, it's quite interesting how their approach to it. I know Team SCA rotated their crew a fair bit as well.
And Brunel has had to. I'm not sure if it was in Bauer's plan at the beginning, but they've had some injuries. Abu Dhabi's had to because of sickness also. They've lost a deal in Phil, but they didn't want to necessarily either. Here we go with Vestas on the bow there, Simeon Tienpont, the new bowman on board, and then just to the left, the new navigator on board, Tom Addis. Great feeling for this team, the second place. We've been on about it tonight, but really huge achievement for them to be able to come back into the race and to do so well right off the bat. I think Nico will be very, very proud of this team, and as you said, very motivated going forward for the next leg and hopefully for the future.
Yeah, great result for them. I think they definitely have another point to prove next leg.
I'm looking for their short team manager, Coxey, but I'm not seeing him here, the guy behind a lot of their work to get the boat back in order. The rebuild in Persico Marine, which is located in Bergamo, Italy, but here we go, Chris Nicholson and one of the under 30s, Peter Woodbrow, at the back of the boat there. Woodbrow's interesting. He's been spending the last 6 months finishing his PhD, his dissertation in nanotechnology. So he's an offshore sailor and quite an intelligent scientist as well. And I think he, of course, was not happy to have that time. He would have rather been racing, but he spent a lot of it doing that, which is a huge achievement. That's Peter who we're talking about there on the dock. And Nico just right off, because that's his son, his family there. Okay, that's precious. There's a lot of blue here and a very, very happy Chris Nicholson. And a very happy son of Chris Nicholson as well. It's good to see him just hop right onto the dock and give his family these hugs. It's been a long race for them as well, I think. We know when he got to Cape Town, he said he actually hadn't seen his family in months because they were so late to the race. He came here to prepare with the team, and his family didn't come with him and saw him off. So in Cape Town was the first time we saw essentially the same sort of hugs there, because I think he missed them quite a lot, and they miss their dad.
Yeah, it's a big sacrifice for this kind of race, for sure. And you talk about another skipper who's quite competitive and also another silent achiever, and that's Nico.
Yeah.
And he's also very good at getting the best out of the guys.
Yeah, you can imagine as well, as we've said, Olympic sailors. He's an Olympic sailor as well, and as you say, the one design racing is a strength of theirs, knowing exactly what to do all the time to keep the boat going max speed as possible, or at this point to try to get it tied off so it doesn't go anywhere. It looks like Joe's trying to get in position to speak with Nico, but he's a little busy with the tying process, as we say.
I think he's more worried about taking care of his boat.
Needs to be taken care of at this point, but here we go. We'll try to listen in here to Joe and Nico.
Okay, so I'm joined down here on the dock with second place podium. You're on the podium, Nico. Did you ever honestly dream of this when you came and you made it on the start line in Lisbon?
Well, I guess you always say it'd be great to get on the podium, but when I look at what we had to get through to get the boat on the water, you know, if you were to be honest, I was kind of hoping we could do fourth or fifth. But second, just over the moon, just so happy for the team.
I mean, that is such a close finish as well. Abu Dhabi, you can see just coming around the corner, hot on your heels. Was that quite stressful with the problems with the keel and the teething problems with the boat?
Yeah, it was funny that all those problems just happened this morning, yeah. But it was good. We got through them all, and the boat got back up to speed, and then we kind of settled. We had to settle down because we were kind of getting in a bit of a fluster, losing miles like we did. And once we settled down, got back into the rhythm again, we could defend. So really, really happy.
So there was a blog written by Bauer, of course the skipper of Team Brunell, you know Bauer quite well. He was saying that you guys, of course, you've got brand new sails because of what happened in leg 2. Do you think that's given you a little bit of extra speed? Because he believes it has.
Well, there's a lot of easier ways to get speed, and that's to actually sail a lot of miles and get faster sailing the boat. So we haven't been able to do that. And yeah, I don't know. Our sails look pretty much the same as everyone else's.
Okay, so one last question. Are you desperate to go and get some real food? I hear on board that the seasickness has been quite epic on board Team Vestas Wind.
Yeah, it was pretty big. It's the first time I've ever seen Trey seasick. And yeah, most of the guys we didn't eat for 2 days.
Well, we've got some crepes waiting for you on board there. Welcome back and huge congratulations. Welcome back, Nico. Thank you.
Thanks, Joe.
Wow, incredible. He just not called out his own teammate, but Trey, New Zealander, longtime Volvo Ocean Racer and America's Cup sailor, and for him to say that he got seasick, it must have been really rough.
Yeah, must have been. Trey's a tough guy.
Although, as you said this earlier, the time at land means that they weren't used to it. Is it something you sort of get used to? Not seasickness, but being able to get over seasickness in the next leg.
Yeah, for sure. There's the people who get seasick, and then there's the people who don't. But then there's also just the time on the water, and just getting used to it is for sure. The more time you spend on the water, the more you get used to it. It's quite amazing that I remember hearing stories of Nico getting seasick in an import race. I used to sail far 40s with him, and he used to get sick. Shabby gets seasick a couple of times, but they're just really mentally strong guys and just get over it.
The Nico rumor, I haven't actually asked him this. The rumor is that he basically only eats tuna on board, and anything else he doesn't feel. If it's bad conditions, he doesn't feel like he wants to eat anything other than tuna. So freeze-dried doesn't go down, nothing like that.
Yeah, I've heard that too. I couldn't think of anything worse than eating seafood.
Tuna. But he looks happy to eat that crepe, that's for sure.
Yeah, he probably hasn't eaten a lot by the looks of it.
Beautiful flowers. I think that was the communications director of SCA there, giving him a hug. Tuna, yeah, no, definitely not something I would want at all.
No.
That's Trey, actually, just to his right, the guy he just threw under the bus about being seasick. And Chicha there on the boat. Actually, all of them indulging in the crepes. And Trey's daughter here, Leisha, just to his right, she works for Team SCA, so it's a really good family race now, this race.
Yeah, that's the great thing about this race is the family involvement, which I think is fantastic. You spend so much time away from home, it's great to have family working or just even there on the dock, just involved in the whole race.
The ability to have them come around the world with you, yeah. And we just heard Trey say first and second, hugging his daughter, that was a good one. There's Brian Carlin, who we were speaking with earlier. Now you can see him in full color and sunlight.
We never come in at the right time, really.
Yeah. No, they've been getting up at 4 a.m. for the last few days.
Yeah.
Just trying to listen a little bit to the conversations, but it just sounds like fun banter at the dock there. Tom Addis on the bow, the navigator, did a great job this leg, as we've said. Wonderful. And then, of course, you can see Vestas on the left there, Musto, who is their clothing supplier, who's also our clothing supplier for the Volvo Ocean Race. We've got a short clip about Musto here.
I'm wearing my survival suit. These survival suits are, particularly important for the Southern Ocean leg.
Just with the cold water hanging out on the bows, not good fun if you don't have one of these things on.
Big part of being safe in Southern Ocean and cold water is being able to stay dry and warm.
I just wouldn't come down here without it.
Your typical Volvo sailor, very disciplined, very professional, know what they want, and into the detail as well. It's the little things that make the difference. And what we're finding is that it's down to the people and the people's performance. You don't perform well if you're cold, wet and hungry. After the 77-78 race, Connie van Richthofen, who owned Flyer, who had won the 77 race on handicap, determined to win the 81 race, flew over from Holland. The brief to my father was, I want to sit in a bucket of freezing water for 4 weeks and stay warm and dry. Can you help? Which we did. All of our new developments over the years, or most of our new developments over the years, have come from the Volvo race, from great skippers that we've worked with like Grant Dalton, Skip Novak. Some great people who've had great ideas and we've taken them and put them into production. The Volvo race for us is our test track. And if a set of gear can go around the world in the 9 months that the race is on for, it's a good 10 years worth of use for your average consumer.
This is my third race with the Musto gear. It's always served us very, very well. Kept us warm, dry, and most importantly, there's been no failures.
Some amazing footage there and some great history with Musto. Also good to see Grant Dalton's face there. There's, well, I guess it's fitting to talk about him. There's a funny story. There's the pineapple story, which I'll let you explain. But essentially, it was the last time that a women's team won a leg in the Volvo Ocean Race 25 years ago, maiden the 1989-1990 race, and they won their division. This is the girls celebrating onboard maiden. But what was the pineapple story?
I think someone had a comment that if the girls win a leg, he would have to stick a pineapple where the sun doesn't shine. So you can see here the girls won the leg and he got presented with the pineapple. but didn't fulfil the promise.
I think that he is Grant Dalton. We will wait for the next bet, which is the coaches of Team SCA wearing pink. We still haven't seen them yet on the dock. I'm sure hopefully we'll see them at some point soon. And a tweet in that the Abu Dhabi shore team is picking up their lines. For Team Vestas Wind. I was going to say that means Abu Dhabi's close to the dock, but it sounds like they're soon to be close to the dock. It'll be great to hear from skipper Ian Walker after they've finished. We got him earlier. And here's Adil, who had to sit out this leg because he wasn't feeling quite up to full race mode. He's been struggling with some sickness actually for the past couple of months, and so I think 35 knots upwind wasn't the right thing to send someone in who's not in peak physical form.
No.
It's not anything nice to send anyone in, even Trey, who is in peak physical form.
Yeah, it's tough. Yeah, you got to be 100% to be out there.
Yeah. I know that the girls on SCA, as you said, they have a squad. They had a debate beforehand about whether they would send one certain team or maybe some other people who didn't have issues with seasickness. Like you said, for some of us, it just is a thing that is never an issue. For some of us, it's no matter what the wave state, it could always be an issue. And then there's sort of in between just being used to it or not being used to it. And I think the varying levels came out to play with all of the teams this leg. The onboard reporters especially, because they have to sit down below, they have to edit, they have to spend a lot of time on computer. They're writing their blogs in the mornings, then they're editing what they've shot during that day, as well as Brian said, doing all the bailing when the boats are wet and doing all the cooking. And so it's a really hard process for those guys, many of whom aren't sailors to begin with. So.
Yeah, it's tough, and even the people who are sailors, these canter keel boats have a very different motion to a normal boat. A normal boat with a keel in a fixed position gets a certain sort of momentum to it, which you can sort of almost predict how the boat moves, so you get used to it. Whereas these canter keel boats, they're thrown all over the place, and there's no that you just don't get comfortable with it, and you can't get used to it. So even the reporters who possibly do a lot of sailing might not necessarily sail on canter keel boats, and it is a different kettle of fish to get used to.
Altogether, it's fair enough. This is a tweet in from Powerhouse, who's the other sponsor of Team Vestas Wind. So great to hear them say the crown on our comeback, this second place. Thanks to everybody who's made this possible. Very fair for the sponsors to be feeling that way. A huge achievement, huge for Team Vestas Wind, and a big, as Nico himself said, a big surprise. I mean, what did he say? I would have been happy with fourth place.
Yeah, fourth or fifth, yeah.
That was an amazing answer. We just saw them on the dock and some beautiful images of him with his family there. We're now hoping to hear from Abu Dhabi Ocean Racing as they get to the dock, essentially having sealed the deal on this Volvo Ocean race. They can now finish last and get penalties, and that would be basically the only way that they could lose it. But having put 2 points between them and Team Brunell and then Dongfeng in this leg, they're going to be feeling quite happy. Do you think there's any chance we'll see the skipper go into the water?
I think there's a high chance.
Really?
I hope so.
It's a sailing tradition. If you win, someone needs to get thrown in, often the skipper. It's going to be cold in Lorient if that happens.
I hope they all end up in there.
You can see them here with Dongfeng race team just behind. Yeah, I do kind of. I think it'd be great to see that. It's not like they didn't get wet enough on this whole leg, though. Avi Medica there in frame as well, and also Brunell. Wow, 4 boats headed in at this point. The only boat we can't see there is Måfre, aside from SCA and Vestas already made it to the dock. Kind of the final moments here, and the shore crew there waiting for Abu Dhabi. It was excellent to see them welcoming in Team Vestas Wind there. Not quite sure what that, do you see that double-masted boat on the dock? It's a cool old boat. Perhaps it is the expedition boat of Sir Peter Blake. We'll try to get confirmation on that, but that's what we're hearing.
Yeah, I'm quite sure you're correct about that, Jenny.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, excellent.
A lot of history on that boat.
That would be a ton of history. Ian with big waves there to the shore. Oh, he looks like a happy skipper. And they've got their overall leader flag up. As we've said, they might not be able to lose that flag. A very happy Ian Walker. He's happy for a lot of reasons here. He will actually be the very first British skipper to ever win the Volvo Ocean Race, which is a massively huge achievement. And of course, this will be the first time for the UAE to win this race. I think it's actually the first time for the UAE or a country from the Gulf region to win any major sporting event in the world. So this is a really phenomenal achievement for this team. They won't be given the trophy until it actually happens in Gothenburg, until they cross the line, but Ian and his team feeling very happy here. We'll listen in on the dock.
Very nice. Terrific. Look at that. You have to come in the photo with me.
Great to see these huge congratulations from his team to Ian. Well, he looks tired though, doesn't he?
Yeah, I think fatigue will certainly be starting to set him now. Huge relief off his shoulders.
Huge relief. The UAE sailor, who we were saying, is in hasn't been totally up to physical form, getting a massive hug here from Jamie Bogue, who's been his longtime partner running these campaigns. A huge project to win. As they said earlier, Justin Slattery the same. It's been a big, long 9 years to get to this moment, and it'll be a huge relief for Ian. But here, we'll listen in to Ian and Joe.
That was the first thing I thought.
Okay, so welcome back down onto the dock. You're going to make me cry. Welcome back down onto the dock. I'm joined with Ian Walker, the skipper of Abu Dhabi Ocean Racing. 3.5 days, one mission, and you succeeded. You kept your closest rivals one boat apart, mathematically, and huge congratulations. You are, as long as you finish the next leg, the winner of the Volvo Ocean Race. How does it feel, Ian?
You're the first person that said that. I don't think it's really sunk in yet. It's just, it's funny, we sort of crossed the finishing line and we all went quiet. Everyone was like, is that it? Have we done it? But no, it's, I can't thank the team enough, you know. We've never broken anything on our boat. You know, the shore team have done such a fantastic job. And, you know, we made a plan a year and a half ago or whatever, and we just carried out the plan, and nothing derailed the plan. And the main bit of the plan was to hire the best people we could in every role and then trust them to do their job. And we did that. And the shore team, the sailing team, I bet they're going nuts in Abu Dhabi. I can't wait to speak to everybody in Abu Dhabi.
So I believe, as far as I'm concerned, that this edition of the race is about resilience, and you guys have shown that. You know, the campaign from last edition could not be more different for this edition. You've stuck to your guns and you've absolutely done that. But are we going to see celebrations here, or are you going to wait and for Gothenburg and to really, really see this race through, being as competitive as I know you are?
Well, first of all, we have to see the final results from this leg, and we look at the notice board. And you're right, the race hasn't finished. You know, we've got another leg to do. This is no time for going nuts. We've got another leg to race, and we want to do the best we can, like in every race we do. It doesn't matter if it's a pro-am, an import race, leg 9, whatever. We always want to do a good job. And so, yeah, we'll don't worry. We'll keep our heads switched on and try and do as best we can on the last leg, and then maybe by then it will have sunk in. But I have to say, I have to thank the Tourism and Culture Authority in Abu Dhabi, principally for standing by Jamie, Phil and I after the disappointment of last race, and to stand to stand by us and work with us, and we do work very closely on everything, and then for it to come true, that's the first thing you think about, is all the decisions you've made, all the trust that's been put in you, and it can be rewarded.
So I love the fact that the first thing that you said to me was, oh no, do I have to sing the team song now? Well, the answer to that is yes, you do. Do you want to tell the public what you agreed to, I believe back in Cape Town, was it?
Well, my daughters kept learning the raps to our team song, and so I said that if we won the race, I'd sing the first verse of the team song at the prize giving. So
I believe it was the entire song, not the first verse. You're not getting out of it that easily.
I think it was the first verse, but anyway.
Well, congratulations, Ian Walker, skipper of Abu Dhabi Ocean Racing. You are the winner of the Volvo Ocean Race. Congratulations.
Sounds good, thank you.
Huge achievement, but it's almost like it hasn't really set in yet for him.
No, not by the looks of it.
He's trying to get to that moment. He's trying to understand that they have just done it. They have essentially been victorious, but as he said, the race isn't over yet. He needs to be able to stay focused, keep the team together, keep the boat together, and get them to Gothenburg all in one piece to then be able to lift the trophy. He does look tired, though. He's had a long leg. He's not slept a lot, and he's had a very, very long race altogether.
At no point there, just realising that it's all secured and it's all just a big relief off his shoulders. And I think right now, yeah, fatigue will be certainly setting in. He'll be realising how tired he is.
Yeah, as he said, look at the leaderboard, look at the notice board, make sure the points are exactly as you think they are. Here's Matt Knighton, onboard reporter of Abu Dhabi Ocean Racing, getting right to work. He's got a hard drive in hand there. He'll be dropping files to the team so we can give more stories from what happened during that leg. Big celebrations here by the shore crew, by the team. Louis Sinclair, who stepped in for a deal this leg and who stepped in once before in this race as well. A young guy in under 30, and also you can see quite a big and tall, strong guy there, which I think is important when you're getting someone who's got peak physical form.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, he's a great young guy, great young sailor. He actually used to work underneath me. So
oh, nice.
It's good to see him.
You know him quite well.
Yeah, very well. Good to see him in this spot right now.
He's got to be excited to be doing it now, the Volvo Ocean Race, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Big achievement. They all seem so happy here. This is really nice. And at least we had sunrise for this, the finish, even if not the finishes, for the dock, for us to be able to see the sailors, to see the emotions, and to see the cheers of the families. Now, if we can go back and take a look at the scoreboard coming up, this is where it sits. This is why Abu Dhabi Ocean Racing is essentially top of the leaderboard, unassailable points. 8 points between them and Team Brunell. It's a big lead. It's almost impossible to lose. Dongfeng race team then just 2 points behind, 2 points to Måfre and 2 points to Alvi Medica. So a very close, tight race to Gothenburg, 10 points to SCA, but first for SCA and second for Vestas Wind was a huge achievement for this leg. Those two teams, Abu Dhabi Ocean Racing, actually probably everyone will be celebrating tonight in Lorient. It was a big, hard, long leg. They've all made it there safely, and we've had some excellent stories coming out of it. But as we've said, the racing is not over. 2 points between all the tweens, between second and fifth place, will be very tight. So at the end in Gothenburg, if there is a tie, it's the import series that determines it. Saturday will be the import race there in Lorient. Tuesday will be the race start. So at this point, we'll probably sign off. If you're in Europe, get to Lorient. At least tonight, there will probably be some teams out celebrating with a drink. And if not now, go there on Saturday. That's it from me, Jenny Tulloch, Zane, the rest of Race Control and Volvo Ocean Race Headquarters. We'll see you guys Saturday for the import race.